Chapter 268. This merchant ship was able to hire 2 peak Marshal Saint guards. It was already very strong. Bang! 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 2 surging sword chi struck the waterspout and gave off a loud sound. Huge waves surged on the surface of the water. The merchant ship shook a few times before it slowly came to a stop. Under the attack of the sword chi, the 200-meter-tall waterspout weakened significantly in might and speed. However, it did not disappear completely. It continued to surge towards the merchant ship. When Xiao Chun saw the waterspout getting closer, he quickly thought for a while. Finally, he decided to make a move. Firstly, he wanted to test the strength of his physical body. Secondly, he wanted to save himself. After making up his mind, Xiao Chun pushed off the deck and created a purple arc as he headed for the waterspout. Xiao Chun's bones crackled as he circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. His body gave off a faint golden glow and a golden tiger image spun around him. Ferocious tiger leaving the mountains. Xiao Chun shouted. It was like the roar of a tiger. His aura was suddenly raised to its peak state. The image of the ferocious tiger entered his fist and struck the towering waterspout. Bang! The incomparably surging waterspout was stopped for an instant by this punch. The huge rebound caused Xiao Chun to fly back 10 meters. Again. Xiao Chun laughed loudly. The instant he landed on the water, he immediately bounced back up. Xiao Chun continued to punch the waterspout, sending punch after punch at it. As Xiao Chun punched the waterspout, waves surged on the surrounding river. There was a loud rumbling sound as the river water surged in the air. The torrential rain poured down continuously. Xiao Chun's clothes were completely soaked. However, he had a delighted expression on his face. Before everyone's astonished gazes, the waterspout sent out by the black tuna whale was stopped by Xiao Chun's fist. It was unable to move forward on the water surface and slowly disappeared. The waterspout turned into rain that filled the sky and landed on the deck. Hoo-chee! Hoo-chee! When the surface of the river finally calmed down, countless strange fish leaped out. They flew towards Xiao Chun and opened their mouth. Their sharp teeth flickered with a cold light under the sunlight. Pah! Xiao Chun punched and the strange fish that crashed into him immediately turned into a pool of blood. It fell into the river, dead beyond death. The strange fish that the weapons of the cultivators could not easily kill was killed by Xiao Chun with one punch. A cultivator on the deck said in astonishment, "What a strong physical body! To think I misjudged him. Just based on the strength of his physical body, he has the combat prowess of a peak inferior martial saint. I wonder what his martial techniques and essence cultivation are like. If they are as strong as him, in terms of pure combat prowess, a regular superior grade martial saint would not be a match for him. Only a peak martial saint would be a match for him. That is only a slight advantage for now. When he becomes a martial king, if he does not give up on tempering his physical body, he will never have the chance to raise his cultivation." The cultivators on the deck discussed the strength that Xiao Chun displayed. They did not expect Xiao Chun's physical body to be so strong. The old men who sent out 2 strands of sword chi jumped off the merchant ship. They each sent out another strand of sword chi and cleaned up the strange fish in the air. The surrounding strange fish no longer dared to come out of the water, they all fled far away. Xiao Chun noticed that the sword chi that the 2 old men sent out was very sharp. It was much more condensed than a regular sword chi. It was clear that they had put in a lot of effort. Xiao Chun had once heard of people who had no hope of advancing to martial king. They would study their martial techniques and sword chi to their limits to raise their combat prowess. Although such people could not advance to martial king, a regular inferior grade martial king would not dare to let their guard down when they met them. It looked like this was the case for these 2 old men. The might of their sword chi had probably already reached the limits of what a martial saint could unleash. "Little brother, are you interested in killing this black tuna whale with us? Our merchant association will reward you greatly, one of the old men suggested to Xiao Chen. The other old man also said, "Actually, the strength of this black tuna whale can barely be considered a peak martial saint. However, when it is underwater, its combat prowess will soar. That is why people call it a peak rank 6 spirit beast." Xiao Chen thought so as well. There was a huge difference in strength between a rank 6 spirit beast and a rank 6 demonic beast. This black tuna whale might not be stronger than the rank 6 scarlet demonic snake that Xiao Chen dealt with in the past. Back then, Xiao Chen could kill the scarlet demonic snake with Yun Kursen and the others. Now that he was working with 2 peak superior grade martial saints, he might be able to kill this black tuna whale. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Sure." When the 2 old men saw Xiao Chen nod in agreement, they immediately revealed gratified smiles on their faces. They had personally witnessed Xiao Chen's strength earlier. With his help, they would be more confident in dealing with the black tuna whale. The 3 of them stepped on the water and executed their movement technique. They started to rush towards the black tuna whale in front. When they got closer, Xiao Chen could clearly see the appearance of the black tuna whale. The part that floated above the water was more than 100 meters long. There were rows of black bone spikes protruding from its back. Before the 3 of them got close, a huge whirlpool appeared on the water below them. A huge suction instantly sucked the 3 of them to the bottom. The force of the whirlpool was very strong. The 3 of them were unable to struggle at all. In an instant, they were sucked to the bottom and their bodies started to spin continuously. Caught off guard, Xiao Chen drank a few mouthfuls of water and closed his eyes. He did his best to maintain his calm. The essence in his body slowly circulated, allowing his body to adapt to the direction of the whirlpool. The other 2 old men were much more experienced and knowledgeable than Xiao Chen. When they encountered such a situation, they did not panic at all. Xiao Chen circulated his essence and breathed internally, looking for an opportunity to escape. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt a dangerous aura. He opened his eyes and saw a huge mouth opening up. The whirlpool was currently pulling the 3 of them towards the huge mouth. As long as the mouth closed up, the black tuna whale would be able to swallow the 3 of them. Lone peak kill. Xiao Chen shouted in his heart and brandished his saber. An image of a mountain appeared above Xiao Chen's head. In the next instant, it merged into Xiao Chen's body. Immediately, Xiao Chen's figure seemed to have turned into a mountain. It became extremely heavy and instantly broke through the pull of the whirlpool. His body quickly fell to the bottom of the river. Bang! When Xiao Chen's feet landed on the bottom of the river, there was an intense force spreading out in the water. There was a temporary emptiness around Xiao Chen. All the river water was pushed out. The whirlpool that the black tuna whale created was instantly destroyed. The 2 old men immediately broke free. They each sent out a sword chi at the black tuna whale. The sharp sword chi tore through the obstruction of the river water like an arrow. With a schwa sound, it left 2 wounds on the back of the black tuna whale. The sword chi did not stop there. It pushed away the river water in front of it and shot towards the surface of the water. The area 1 meter around Xiao Chen was now empty. He took a deep breath of air. Pushing off the ground, Xiao Chen entered the water again and swam towards the black tuna whale. If Xiao Chen continued to stand where he was, when the water surface closed up, the force that was pushing the river water would strike him several times over. Even if Xiao Chen's physical body was strong, he would not be able to endure it. On the calm surface of the river, pillars of water shot up into the sky from time to time. The huge merchant ship kept rocking on the surface of the water. The crowd couldn't see what was going on under the water. They could only watch the intense battle anxiously, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, blood appeared on the clear river water. The crowd exclaimed, "So much blood! I wonder who it belongs to." This black tuna whale is not stupid. From the start, it dragged the 3 of them to the bottom of the river to fight. Fighting in the water is disadvantageous to the 3 of them. Indeed, in terms of strength, 3 peak martial saints against a peak rank 6 spirit beast should have a 50-50 chance of victory. However, now that they are underwater, their chances of victory are only 40%. How about we go down and help? If they die, the black tuna whale will definitely not let us off. Sure, you go down first. I'll go down soon. Why not you go down first? Call me down. Let's go down together. The crowd argued about wanting to go down and help. However, after arguing for a long time, no one dared to go down. These people were only ordinary inferior grade martial saints. Many of them were only peak martial grandmasters. They did not have the courage to go down. Most of them wanted both sides to injure each other. That would be the best result for them. Since they did not need to make a move and the danger was over, they were all watching. Within the crowd, Lu Suifeng had an anxious expression. However, he was afraid that if he went down, he would bring trouble to Xiao Chen. He could only hesitate. Bang! 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 Suddenly, there were 3 loud sounds on the surface of the water. It was Xiao Chen and the other 2 breaking out of the water. A black dot in the distance was swimming forward quickly. Everywhere it passed, it left a trail of blood. Although the 3 of them had injured the black tuna whale, there was nothing they could do to stop it from escaping. They could only leave it at that. Many thanks for little friend's help, an old man said respectfully as he cupped his hands to Xiao Chen. This was how the world of cultivators was. As long as one had the corresponding strength, regardless of age, the other party would treat you with respect. This person had already seen Xiao Chen's strength in the water earlier. His tone was much more respectful than before. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. It's just a small matter. I am just tempering my own martial technique. The other old man smiled. Ha ha, little friend is too polite. No matter what, you have helped our merchant association greatly. The ship owner will thank you later. After the 2 old men spoke, they leaped back onto the bow of the ship and informed the ship owner that the danger was over. They could set sail again. When Xiao Chen saw the injured black tuna whale fleeing far away, he felt it was unfortunate. Actually, if he wanted to give chase now, Xiao Chen was confident of catching up. However, if the other party sank to the bottom of the water, it would be troublesome for Xiao Chen to deal with it alone. It would be a waste of time, and the gains would not make up for the losses. Chapter 269. Not long after, a waiter came over and brought Xiao Chen and Lu Suifeng into the ship's hold. The master of the merchant ship politely took out 1,000 inferior-grade spirit stones and handed them to Xiao Chen. Then, he called for someone to arrange a room for the 2 of them. 1,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Xiao Chen had no qualms about taking it. The effort he put in was definitely worth the price. After the captain left, Lu Suifeng sighed. Yesterday, you told me that there were no empty rooms. Today, there are 2 rooms available. It looks like you need strength no matter where you go. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything. It was good that Lu Suifeng had such an understanding. After this trip, he would probably spend more time cultivating. The room in the ship's hold was no different from a regular inn's room. Xiao Chen sat on the bed and entered into a state of cultivation. From the time they left the mountain until now, it had been almost 10 days. In these 10 days, Xiao Chen had a battle almost every day and gained some benefit. He had gained a lot from the earlier battle underwater. He decided to take advantage of this opportunity to raise his cultivation to peak inferior grade martial saint. Then, he would try to break through to great perfection of the dragon and tiger body sculpting art's 4th layer. For the next 3 days, Xiao Chen basically stayed in his room. During this time, Lu Suifeng asked him to go out for some fresh air, but he rejected him. At this crucial moment, Xiao Chen did not want to waste any time. He had to endure the loneliness. Tong, tong. There was a knock on the door. Lu Suifeng said, Yi Chen, we are about to reach the shore. I'll wait for you at the bow. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and a bright light flashed in them. Purple electricity flowed everywhere in the room as he thought about it. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand, and all the electricity gathered in his right hand, forming a ball of burning electric flame. Then, he flicked it gently. A flower vase on the table exploded with a bang and turned into powder by the electric flame. The powder landed on the wooden table. Xiao Chun stood up and casually sent out a palm wind to scatter the powder. He said indifferently, "My cultivation has finally reached peak inferior grade martial saint. My control of the purple thunder true fire is getting better and better. However, I still need some time to reach great perfection of the dragon and tiger body sculpting art's fourth layer. It cannot be done in one go. I should be able to complete it after the auction is over." Xiao Chen pushed open the door and slowly walked to the bow of the ship. Soon, he found Lu Suifeng. When Lu Suifeng heard footsteps, he turned his head back and discovered that the feeling that Xiao Chen gave him had become stronger. He exclaimed in shock, "Yi Chen, your cultivation increased again?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "I have already reached peak inferior grade martial saint. It will be difficult for me to advance any further in a short period. After one became a martial saint, it would be incredibly difficult to advance by a grade. The difficulty of advancing from inferior grade martial saint to medial grade martial saint was similar to the difficulty of advancing by a grade." Lu Suifeng could not help but smack his lips. "I really wonder how you cultivate. This speed is too horrifying." Xiao Chun replied, "Aside from talent and cultivation techniques, there is also experiential training and bitter cultivation. Did you not notice that after coming out this time, your cultivation has actually improved? After that, you need to be able to endure loneliness. While others are immersed in their desires, you can make the best use of the time to cultivate. Naturally, your speed will be faster." Lu Suifeng felt slightly embarrassed. He knew that Xiao Chen was talking about him. He quickly changed the topic. "After we reach the port in front, we will reach Shiha City in half a day." Xiao Chen looked in the direction Lu Suifeng pointed. It was a bustling port. Occasionally, ships would enter and leave. The shore was much livelier than the previous port. There was an endless stream of people walking on it. The clamor reached Xiao Chen's ears even from a distance. Suddenly, Xiao Chen asked out of curiosity, "Where is the end of this Black Dragon River?" Lu Suifeng was no stranger to this. He explained, "Shiha province is already at the edge of the Great Qin nation. After the Black Dragon River passes through Shiha province, it will flow through the ancient desolate land. There are tributaries there that lead to other nations. Its final destination is the boundless sea in the west." The boundless sea? Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. Could the river on that map be the Black Dragon River? If the destination is the boundless sea, it is very similar. "We have arrived. Let's go and get the horses first." Lu Suifeng's voice interrupted Xiao Chen's thoughts. He could only give up on this idea for now. Xiao Chen led the dragon blood horse and slowly got off the bow. The two of them immediately mounted the horse and rushed towards Shiha City. After half a day of travel, the outline of a majestic city wall appeared in their vision. The city wall was 100 meters tall. It was so long that they could not see the end of it. Xiao Chun had seen the capital of Dongming province before. It was also as majestic as this. Thus, he did not have much experience. After he paid the entrance fee, he entered the city smoothly. The streets of Shiha City were incomparably wide. There were also special roads for carriages and sidewalk. Thus, although there were many people, it did not seem too crowded when the two of them rode on their horses. After asking around for the nearest inn, the two of them rushed over. After they tied up the horses outside, they walked in through the main doors. Liushang Pavilion. Xiao Chen looked at the signboard of the inn and smiled faintly. He did not expect there to be a branch of Liushang Pavilion here. It seemed like he still had a VIP card. There was an opportunity for him to use it. Perhaps it was because of the large-scale auction. The business of the inn was very good. The first floor was full, and the second floor was also full. There were even some people waiting in line. Lu Suifeng said somewhat helplessly, "It looks like we can only change to another inn. From the third floor of Liushang Pavilion, we need a VIP card." Xiao Qin smiled and said, "There's no need. Let's go to the third floor. I happen to have a VIP card for this inn." Xiao Qin took out his VIP card and showed it to the person standing guard on the third floor. After he took a look, that person immediately respectfully welcomed Xiao Qin and Lu Suifeng. His attitude was incomparably humble. This was because the VIP card that Xiao Qin took out was of the highest grade. It allowed them to go directly to the fifth floor of Liushang Pavilion. The people who could have such a VIP card had to have a high status. Lu Suifeng said in surprise, "It really is a VIP card of Liushang Pavilion. How did you get it? This thing is not easy to get." Xiao Qin smiled. "This inn was opened by that damn fatso. To him, a VIP card is just a small matter." However, the two of them seemed to have bad luck. There were still no empty tables on the third floor. Xiao Qin looked around and said, "Let's go to the fourth floor. I don't believe that it is so difficult to even eat a meal." After flashing the VIP card, the two of them went to the fourth floor. The fourth floor was different from the third floor. It was all individual booths. It was much quieter. After they called the waiter over, they finally received a reply. There was still an empty booth. "Hold on, I want this booth." Just as the waiter was about to bring Xiao Qin and Lu Suifeng over, a discordant voice came from behind them. Xiao Qin frowned slightly and turned around to take a look. It was a group of youths dressed in black. There were 5 of them, both male and female. There were 4 white snowflakes embroidered on the chest area of their clothes. This was the symbol of the Night Spirit Palace. Black represented the night, and snowflakes represented the cold. Only core disciples could embroider these 4 snowflakes. The person leading them had a grave and stern expression. He had an imposing appearance. He had a sword at his waist. When he saw the identity token on Xiao Qin and Lu Suifeng's waists, a look of disdain flashed in his eyes. When the waiter saw this person, his expression changed slightly. He said, "Young Master Shi, this is not good. We have already agreed to give them this booth." This person smiled faintly and walked forward. He did not even turn his head back as he said, "We have not entered yet, right? I will treat them to this meal. We will talk after we finish eating. Go and make some preparations." His tone was very indifferent. He treated Xiao Qin and Lu Suifeng like air, completely ignoring them. However, the waiter blocked in front of the man with the surname Shi. He said awkwardly, "Sorry, our Liushang Pavilion has our own rules. First come, first served is the basic rule. I hope young Master Shi does not make things difficult for us." A gloomy look flashed on Shi Feng's face. He did not expect that this waiter, who usually gave him face, would say such words at this moment. "Say that again. Do you believe that I can shut down Liushang Pavilion in Shihe City with just one word?" The waiter hesitated in his heart. He did not know what to do. The Shi Feng in front of him was the second son of the Shi clan, one of the 3 noble clans of the Shihe province. Each of the 3 noble clans was a huge power, especially the Shi clan. Coincidentally, their headquarters were in Shihe City. They had a lot of power in the area. If they offended the Shi clan, it would be hard for Liushang Pavilion to do business. However, on the other side, Xiao Qin and Lu Suifeng's status was not just for show. Liushang Pavilion had a limited number of VIP cards. They would not casually hand them out. If they offended them, it would be hard to explain. "Senior brother Shi Feng, since there is such a rule, let's wait for a while," the pretty girl among the 5 said. One of the 5 followed up, "Senior brother Shi, I think we should go to another place. There is no need to make things difficult for a waiter." On the surface, it looked like he was advising Shi Feng, but in reality, he was saying that Shi Feng was not magnanimous and only dared to make things difficult for a waiter. Shi Feng glared at this person fiercely. A trace of anger flashed in his eyes. However, he could not say anything in front of the girl. He turned around and smiled at the girl. Junior Sister Mu, don't worry. My Shi clan is still able to handle this matter in Shiha City. Don't you think so, waiter? Aside from participating in the auction, one of the main reasons he came down the mountain was because of the girl in front of him, Mu Yanxue. Mu Yanxue was the most beloved daughter of the Night Spirit Palace's second palace master. He had pursued her in the Night Spirit Palace. Be it in terms of appearance, temperament, or status, she was the ideal candidate for him. The most important thing was that if he married this girl, his position in the clan would be even more stable. In the future, when he fought for the position of clan head, he would have an additional bargaining chip. If he could not even secure a small table in his own territory, he would lose a lot of face. Seeing Shi Feng use the Shi clan's name to pressure him, the waiter immediately felt put on the spot. He could not help but look at Xiao Chen and Lu Suifeng, hoping that they would take a step back. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly to himself. He did not expect that even a meal would not be peaceful. Everywhere he went, he would run into idiot. The current Xiao Chen was no longer that reckless youth who had just left Mo City. He was much calmer now. He would not casually reveal the sharpness of a cultivator. Xiao Chen turned around and led Lu Suifeng to the 5th floor. Most people would not be able to go up to the 5th floor, so it should not be a problem to have a meal there. Chapter 270. Stop right there. Did I tell you to leave? I already said I would treat you to a meal as compensation for taking up your spot. Are the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's people not going to give me any face? When Shi Feng saw Xiao Chen turn around to leave, he took 2 steps forward and said unforgiving word. The people of the 3 great sects of the Great Qin nation were not happy with each other. When they met, the smell of gunpowder would be very strong. This was especially so for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and the Misty Sword sect. When the disciples of these 2 sects met, they would start fighting without saying a word. Of the 3 great sects, the Night Spirit Palace was ranked the lowest in terms of overall strength. If Xiao Chen could trample on these 2 Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples, he would definitely be able to leave an impression in Mu Yanxue's heart. Shi Feng thought to himself, the 2 of them are only inferior grade martial saints. Furthermore, this is Shiha City. I am confident I can defeat them. Xiao Chen stopped walking and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Just because he withdrew his sharpness did not mean he did not have it. Just because he was low-key did not mean he would allow others to bully him. Lu Suifeng said in a soft voice, Yi Chen, this person is Shi Feng, the second son of the Shi clan head of one of the 3 noble clans of the Shiha province. He has an inherited bloodline martial spirit and is a medial grade martial saint. He is a famous expert among the younger generation of the Shiha province. In a distant booth, a man and a woman wearing the Misty Sword sect's uniform were drinking wine and chatting. When the woman saw the person opposite her looking elsewhere, she could not help but feel it was strange. So, she looked over as well. When the woman saw the situation clearly, she revealed an astonished expression. She said softly, It's the people from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and the Night Spirit Palace. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's people are at a disadvantage. They are at a disadvantage in both numbers and strength. Senior Brother Chu, do you recognize them? The man carried a sword on his back and his handsome face always had a calm expression. This was the person that Xiao Chen feared, Chu Chaoyun. Chu Chaoyun shook his head slightly and took a sip of wine. He said, He seems familiar. However, I can't remember where I saw him before. Let's take a look. Xiao Chen's temperament gave him a very familiar feeling, but looking at that ordinary face, Chu Chaoyun really couldn't remember where he had seen it before. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's martial spirit had already entered his body. He couldn't sense the aura of the blue dragon martial spirit, so his intuition told him that he should have seen this person before, but he didn't know who it was. When Shi Feng saw that Xiao Chen had stopped in his tracks, he revealed a complacent expression. He smiled and said, "You can stand there. Don't move before I finish eating. How much you want to eat will be on my tab. Junior sister, let's go." After Xiao Chen spoke, he turned around and led the four of them to the room. The person who was on good terms with Shi Feng smiled and said, "Senior brother Shi, I did not expect you to scare two Heavenly Saber Pavilion people into not daring to move with just a few words. You are really powerful." The complacent expression on Shi Feng's face became even denser. He casually glanced at Mu Yanxue and smiled faintly. "They are just two inferior-grade martial saints. Even without my Shi clan's name, I can easily defeat the two of them. There is nothing to fear." However, Mu Yanxue's expression did not change. She only forced a smile. She felt something was wrong in her heart, but she could not tell what it was. "It is not that I am boasting, but there is no one in Shihe City who would not give face to the Shi clan. This time, you are here to participate in the auction. If there is anything you want, just tell me. My Shi clan will help you bid." Even a martial king would not dare to mess around. Shi Feng smiled as he walked. "Hu Qi." Just at this moment, there was the sound of an intense wind coming from behind Shi Feng. A vast killing qi surged over. The aura was so strong that it caused the five of them to tremble. Shi Feng's reaction was the fastest. The instant he heard the sound of the wind, he instantly turned around. When he saw Xiao Chen's figure clearly, he did not panic. Instead, there was some excitement on his face. He smiled faintly. "If you did not make a move, I would not be able to do anything to you. If you dare to make a move against me, you can forget about leaving this Liushang pavilion." Xiao Chen could not be bothered with Shi Feng. He increased his speed and circulated the dragon and tiger body sculpting art. Then, he punched at Shi Feng's face. Shi Feng mocked. "You actually dare to use your fists and legs in front of me? You are seeking death." After Shi Feng spoke, a spiraling azure-colored rock appeared under his feet. This was the Shi clan's inherited martial saint, the Qingtian stone. The rock turned into azure-colored lines and quickly extended towards his right hand. Finally, it formed a strange whirlpool on his palm. Shi Feng clenched his fist and the whirlpool immediately disappeared. It merged with every inch of his palm and carried a horrifying force as it smashed towards Xiao Chen's fist. Bang! When the two fists collided, there was an intense explosion in the quiet fourth floor. A horrifying shockwave spread out and smashed some of the surrounding tables into pieces. Shi Feng's body flew backwards. The rock on his arm started to explode from his fist to his shoulder, turning into a pile of stone fragments that fell to the ground. Xiao Chen's body did not move at all. His aura surged and the bones in his body started to crackle. The image of a tiger and dragon intertwined. Xiao Chen shouted and pushed off the ground. He did not hesitate to chase after Shi Feng. How can this be? Shi Feng actually lost to this person in a fists and legs competition, a Night Spirit Palace disciple said in disbelief. The Shi clan's inherited martial spirit can increase the strength of a cultivator's physical body by 50%. Its defense and strength will be greatly increased. How could he lose so thoroughly? Mu Yanxue muttered to herself in silence. She knew that Shi Feng had kicked an iron plate this time. This is good as well. This will save me from doing some strange things in the future, Mu Yanxue thought to herself. Shi Feng was incomparably shocked. Since he started cultivating, this was the first time he suffered such a disadvantage in a fists and legs competition. So, Shi Feng's body sank to the ground. The instant his feet landed, the Qingtian stones wrapped around his feet and grabbed him firmly, preventing him from moving back. When Shi Feng saw Xiao Chen charging over with a ferocious momentum, a murderous intent flashed on his face. Xiao Chen shouted and the Qingtian stones covered his entire body. The aura of his innate martial spirit spread out completely. All the cultivators on the fourth floor felt some pressure. Xiao Chen clenched his fist and punched ferociously. The fist wind broke through the air and gave off a sharp sound. A huge Qingtian whirlpool formed in the air. Shi Feng said coldly, "The force of this punch is 5,000 kilograms. Let's see how you break this." Gram. Bang. Xiao Chen had a stern expression as he roared. It was like the roar of a dragon and a tiger, piercing through the sky. His entire body gave off a faint golden glow. The image of a tiger and a dragon quickly infused into his fist. Great dragon tiger fist, dragon hisses tiger roars. With the dragon and tiger body sculpting art circulating at full force, the force of this punch was already the peak of what Xiao Chen could deliver. The force of this punch reached 6,000 kilograms. Bang! When the two fists met, there was a loud sound. The Qingtian stones on Shi Feng's body shattered. Under the shock wave, they turned into powder and drifted away in the wind. Pu-ci. Shi Feng vomited a large mouthful of blood as his body flew backward like a sandbag. With a bang, he smashed through the wall of the 4th floor and fell heavily on the 3rd floor. The sudden fall of Shi Feng startled the customers on the 3rd floor. They quickly got up and dodged. Some of the cultivators who recognized Shi Feng were shocked. They did not know who was so bold as to attack the Shi clan in the Shiha province. Hu Qi. Xiao Chen's body passed through the hole in the wall. His figure flashed in the air, and he stomped on Shi Feng's chest, pushing the struggling Shi Feng back. Shi Feng vomited another mouthful of blood and coughed a few times. He pointed at Xiao Chen and said in horror, "Quickly let me go. Otherwise you can forget about leaving Shiha City." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and ignored him. He said in a deep voice, "You want to use my status as a Heavenly Saber Pavilion core disciple to give you face to chase girls? Unfortunately, you found the wrong target. In front of me, you are not even qualified for me to draw my saber." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he kicked Shi Feng's waist violently. Xiao Chen did not hold back in this kick. Shi Feng, who could not resist at all, was kicked into the air and flew in an arc. He accurately passed through the window of the 3rd floor and landed on the street. On the 4th floor of Liushang Pavilion, Chu Chaoyun looked at Xiao Chen's back and smiled faintly. "So, it is him. I was wondering why I could not find him." So, he changed his appearance and ran to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The girl opposite asked out of curiosity, "Senior Brother Chu, is that someone you know?" Chu Chaoyun stood up and smiled gently, "Old friend. This fellow will not have peace no matter where he goes. He is like a sharp treasured saber. Even if it is sheathed, the instant it is unsheathed, it will give off a terrifying light." When Mu Yanxue saw Shi Fei flying out of the window through a crack in the wall of the 4th floor, her expression changed. She quickly said, "Go down and stop him. If we let him go, it will be hard to explain to the Shi clan." The Shiha province had a close relationship with the 3 great clans and the various great sections. They were like allies. For example, the Yun clan had a close relationship with the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the Yen clan had a close relationship with the Misty Sword sect, and the Shi clan had a close relationship with the Night Spirit Palace. Thus, Mu Yanxue could not just sit back and watch. After Xiao Chen humiliated Shi Fei, he swaggered off. Otherwise, if the Shi clan really chased after him, she would not be able to explain to the Night Spirit Palace. The 4 of them drew their weapons and quickly jumped down from the crack in the wall. They each stood in a corner and surrounded Xiao Chen. Lu Suifeng was about to jump down as well. However, he discovered that a hand had grabbed his shoulder at an unknown time. Lu Suifeng's expression changed as he turned his head to look. He exclaimed, "Chu Chaoyun, why are you here?" The top expert of the Misty Sword sect, the archenemy of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Lu Suifeng was very familiar with this person's appearance. However, what he usually saw was a portrait. This was the first time he saw the person in person. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly. "Don't be nervous, nothing will happen to your friend. If you go down, you will only cause trouble for him." Chu Chaoyun's words were very soft. He did not release any aura or killing qi. However, it caused Lu Suifeng to feel a formless pressure. He did not dare to move. The customers on the third floor had already moved to the side. However, they did not go very far. They just watched the commotion on the second floor. So, it is the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's people fighting with the Night Spirit Palace's people. However, why is there only one bladesman from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? It is dangerous to fight 1 against 4. Chapter 271. Who cares? As long as there is a show to watch, it is fine. The 3 great sects are not willing to submit to anyone. This is a good opportunity to see the strength of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and the Night Spirit Palace. The person leading the Night Spirit Palace seems to be the daughter of the second palace master, Mu Yanxue. She is already a medial grade martial saint. Who is the person from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Do you know him? I don't know him. He should have just left the mountain recently. He is probably here to participate in the auction. Discussions rose up in the crowd. It was very lively. Everyone was very excited. Mu Yanxue pointed her sword at Xiao Chen. She said in a melodious voice, "This friend, can you stay here for a while? I do not wish to make a move." Xiao Chen smiled faintly. He did not withdraw his aura at all. He said mockingly, "What are you staying here for? Waiting to die? If you want to keep me here, then show me what you are capable of." Mu Yanxue blushed slightly. She did not expect Xiao Chen to be so rude. She shouted coldly, "In that case, let me see what you are capable of." Pu Ci. Right after the other party spoke, the 4 of them sent out a sword qi each. They tore through the air and flew at Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen saw the sword qi flying at him, he shook his head. Although the sword qi of these 4 people were very powerful, they were not sharp enough. Compared to the 2 old men on the merchant ship, they were much weaker. Xiao Chen used his palm as a saber and brandished it left and right. He did not move at all. He executed the dragon and tiger body sculpting art to its limit. When the sword qi struck his arm, it gave off a melodious ding-dang sound. Xiao Chen used the strength of his physical body to block it. The 4 of them were startled. They did not expect Xiao Chen's physical body to be so strong. They quickly gave up on using their sword qi to attack. The swords in their hands released a blazing sword light as they hacked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen knew that these 4 people were not trying to kill him. They were just trying to delay him until the Wang clan experts arrived. I can no longer hide my strength. I have to end this quickly. Otherwise, when the Wang clan experts arrive, I will be in trouble. Even if I leave, it will be difficult for Lu Suifeng to do so. Xiao Chen flipped his palm and the lunar shadow saber immediately appeared in his left hand from the universe ring. Xiao Chen placed his right hand on the saber hilt and paused for a moment. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chen infused his state of thunder into his saber, raising his aura and state to their limits in a short time. In that instant, dark clouds churned in the sky above Liushang Pavilion. Muffled thunder roared incessantly. The might of thunder instantly formed. Rushing thunder saber art, drawing the saber. Xiao Chen shouted and unleashed the state of thunder with all his might. A clap of thunder resounded in the sky. In the next moment, everyone seemed to see a bolt of lightning leaping out of the scabbard. Bang! The 3 people in front of them felt their vision blur. A terrifying energy swept over them, and they were immediately sent flying back. Electric currents coursed through the meridians in his body, and the sword moves in his hands were immediately thrown into disarray. He was unable to execute them. Xiao Chen spun around and spun his saber around quickly. Even though he was the last to move, he arrived first and placed it on the neck of the person behind him. That person was caught off guard. The sword in his hand carried a blazing sword light as it hovered above Xiao Chen's head, not daring to move at all. Xiao Chen smiled gently and quickly sheathed his saber. He stepped forward and sent a palm strike at that person's chest. With a loud bang, he immediately sent that person flying. With no one blocking his way, Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and turned into a beam of purple light, flying towards the crack in the fourth floor. Everything happened in the time it took for a spark to fly. From the moment Xiao Chen summoned out the lunar shadow saber to the moment he made his move, it was only the blink of an eye. The situation immediately turned around. The speed was so fast that no one could react. Someone below exclaimed, "What is going on? Are the people of the Night Spirit Palace so weak?" Mu Yanxue suppressed the violent lightning-attributed essence in her body. When she heard this, she became slightly angry and shouted. It was unknown what movement technique Mu Yanxue used, but her speed increased explosively in a short time. She immediately blocked in front of Xiao Chen. Mu Yanxue looked at Xiao Chen and said coldly, "You are very fast. However, no one can be faster than me." A sword light flashed and pierced towards Xiao Chen at lightning speed. Xiao Chen quickly dodged. After that, he spun around and pushed off the wall. Then, he turned around and hacked at Mu Yanxue. Dang! The saber and sword clashed, giving off a melodious clang that reverberated in the hall. The moment the two clashed, they retreated. They were extremely decisive. They were so fast that everyone could only see afterimages. Two distinct figures in the air, one purple and one black, clashed continuously in the eyes of the crowd. The movement techniques of the two were very good. They flew around the top of the third floor, using the walls as a foothold. Unexpectedly, they did not land at all. It was like they were really flying. As the two exchanged moves, their speed was equal. Unexpectedly, they were evenly matched. Being evenly matched was not the result that Xiao Chen wanted. The longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Since the blue dragon cloud soaring art reached small perfection, Xiao Chen had not met anyone in the same generation who could match his speed. Mu Yanxue should be practicing a peak Earth-ranked movement technique. Furthermore, it was very likely that she had reached great perfection. Otherwise, she could not be so fast. Hu Qi. Xiao Chen raised his speed to the limit and turned into a purple flood dragon. He roared ferociously in the air, but he still could not shake off Mu Yanxue. That black figure was like his shadow. No matter what he did, he could not shake it off. Strange, why does it seem like the Battle Sage Origins sticky character formula? Xiao Chen muttered to himself. Xiao Chen had experienced this before when he fought Lung Liusu. If you were fast, she would be even faster. If you were slow, she would slowly slow down. She would not be shaken off by your sudden decrease in speed. I have to think of a way. Since I have no way to gain an advantage in terms of speed, then I have to find another way to break through. Xiao Chen shouted and found an opportunity. His body somersaulted in the air. He stomped on the roof of the third floor, and a large hole immediately appeared in the wooden floorboard. Xiao Chen sent out a stream of energy in the air. His body nimbly flashed through the hole and reappeared on the fourth floor of Liushang Pavilion. A raging flame started to burn in his right eye, and a huge ball of purple flames shot out of the hole under his feet. Mu Yanxue, who was chasing closely, was startled when she saw the surging purple flame. She quickly dodged to the side. Bang! Bang! The flame did not lose its momentum. It easily burned through the floorboards of the second floor. It surged towards the first floor, scaring the customers on the first floor into fleeing in a panic. After temporarily escaping from Mu Yanxue, Xiao Chen looked around and quickly found Lu Suifeng. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly discovered Chu Chaoyun standing on Lu Suifeng with a smile on his face. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and gently placed his palm on Lu Suifeng's body. He said, "I'll send you off." Immediately, a huge but gentle force was transmitted to Lu Suifeng's body, and he slowly floated towards the window. Xiao Chen did not have time to think. He jumped out of the window as well. Before he left, he gave Chu Chaoyun a puzzled look. He did not know why Chu Chaoyun helped him. The two of them landed on the street. Lu Suifeng said, "What should we do now?" Should we go back? Xiao Chen felt a headache coming on. He could not think of a way to go, and he did not know where to go. If he were alone, he could just change his identity and hide for a few days. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen said, "Does the Heavenly Saber Pavilion not have any power in Shiha City?" As one of the three great sects, Xiao Chen did not believe that they would be afraid of an inherited noble clan. The two of them were not on the same level of strength. If they really fought, in terms of combat prowess, 10 Sure clans would not be able to defeat the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. With the pure combat prowess of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, they could easily destroy the Sure clan. Lu Suifeng smiled bitterly. "We really do not have any power in Shiha City. The royal court has very strict control over the 3 great cities in the nation. It is very difficult for the 3 great sects to infiltrate. In the city, aside from the city lord, who has the greatest power, the 3 noble clans have the greatest power. So, we are not in a good position to do anything." Xiao Chen glanced around and saw that Shifeng, who had fallen to the ground earlier, had already gotten up and gone somewhere. Actually, with Lu Suifeng's identity as a core disciple of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the Sure clan would not dare to do anything to the two of them. They could only apologize and suffer some losses. Xiao Chen's expression changed as he said, "Never mind, let's leave the city first. The auction will start in 3 days. We will find an opportunity to come in and take a look." Lu Suifeng nodded. This was the only thing they could do. For now, they could not think of any better ideas. Dong, dong, dong. Just as the two of them were about to leave, the sound of rushing horses came from the road in front. A group of cultivators wearing the Sure clan's uniform rushed over in an aggressive manner. Xiao Chen stopped and frowned slightly. He thought to himself, the Sure clan is extraordinarily fast. No wonder Shifeng dares to be so arrogant in Shiha City. The leader of the group was an old man wearing tight cultivator robes. He dismounted from his horse and looked at the two with a sullen expression. The old man slowly walked forward. As he walked, his chi and blood flourished. His eyes were as sharp as sabers. Just by looking at his aura, one could tell that his cultivation was not low. The old man said to the two of them, "Which of you injured my clan's young master?" Before the two of them could speak, a young cultivator of the Sure clan pointed at Xiao Chen and said, "Fourth elder, it was the brat on the right who injured him. Many people in Liushang Pavilion saw it. Furthermore, he was the one who made the first move." A bright light flashed in the eyes of the Sure clan's fourth elder. It was like a sharp treasured saber staring at Xiao Chen. He said in a deep voice, "Can the people of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion bully my Sure clan as they wish? To think you dare to be so arrogant in Shiha City. I'll give you an explanation. If you can't explain it clearly, I will teach you how to behave on behalf of your teacher." Lu Suifeng quickly said, "Senior, we did not mean to injure the Sure clan's young master on purpose. He was the one who humiliated us first. We only—" Xiao Chen raised his arm slightly, stopping Lu Suifeng from continuing. His gaze was as calm as still water. He met the old man's gaze without any fear. "There is no need to explain too much. It is just that our skills are not up to par. There is no need to say so much." The Sure clan was clearly being unreasonable. If they were being reasonable, it would be clear who was in the right and who was in the wrong by asking the people around them. What was the point of saying so much nonsense? As for the so-called explanation, Xiao Chen found it laughable. They were clearly not in the wrong. Chapter 272. In the end, the other party acted as though they were wronged. They wanted the two of them to explain themselves. If they could not explain themselves, they would teach them a lesson. This was simply the logic of a bandit. It was inhumane and unreasonable. However, in this world, Xiao Chen no longer held any hope of using reason to resolve things. In this world where human lives were as cheap as ants, the one with the strongest fist was the true reason. Right now, the Sure clan's fist was harder. The other party was right. The surrounding cultivators who witnessed the incident remained silent. No one spoke up for Xiao Chen. This was a typical example. Xiao Chen's expression was incomparably calm. He enunciated every word clearly. I was the one who injured Shi Feng. If you want to make a move, then cut the crap. As long as you are not afraid of bringing a calamity upon your Shi clan, come and fight. In this world, it was easy for a cultivator to live. However, there were not many who could live with dignity. Xiao Chen had always believed that a cultivator did not have to reveal their sharpness. However, they had to have a spirit. No matter what, this spirit could not be lost. One could not be arrogant, but one had to have a lofty character. This was the principle behind it. If Xiao Chen had sullenly explained and apologized, the other party would not dare to do anything to them because of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's position. However, this way, once there was a compromise, there would be a second compromise. In the end, the spirit of a cultivator would be completely gone. If a cultivator lost their spirit, no matter how talented they would not have the chance to reach the peak of cultivation in the future. At this moment, Xiao Chen did not hide his sharpness. His aura flourished and his killing intent was revealed. He was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard. The treasured saber was incomparably sharp. It pierced through the air, frightening people. The boundless clouds in the sky suddenly gathered and churned. Muffled rumbles came from within. The momentum of the lightning had been formed. What's going on? Why did the sky turn so dark? The surrounding cultivators suddenly discovered that the dark clouds above their heads had already covered the dazzling sunlight. The sky suddenly turned dark. This is the state of thunder. I did not expect this brat to comprehend it to such a high level at such a young age. He can already affect the power of thunder. This is the sign of a state reaching small perfection. I once saw it on an inferior grade martial king. Without a certain level of comprehension, normal people would not be able to comprehend it in their lifetime. However, a small perfection state of thunder is not a match for the Shi clan's fourth elder. This old man was already a peak martial saint many years ago. Although he was not a martial king yet, there were few who were a match for him within the martial saint realm. When the Shi clan's fourth elder saw Xiao Chen's aura, he could not stop. In the confrontation between the younger generation of the various major forces, the older generation tacitly chose to remain silent. As long as no one was killed, they wouldn't take action. Originally, the upper echelon of the Shi clan did not intend to make a move. However, they heard that Shi Feng had been thrown into the streets by the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's people. As one of the three noble clans, the Shi clan's clan head felt embarrassed. If news of this spread, the Shi clan's reputation in Shiha City would be tarnished. This was why the Shi clan's fourth elder brought people to settle this matter. As long as the other party was willing to apologize and admit his mistake, they would let this matter go. However, the Shi clan head did not expect Xiao Chen to be so unyielding. He did not even bother to explain himself. At this moment, in front of everyone, the Shi clan head was stuck between a rock and a hard place. He did not know what to do. After a while, the Shi clan head knew that if he retreated now, he would not be able to face anyone. He made up his mind and said coldly, "You are just an insignificant junior and you dare to be so arrogant. I will teach you a lesson today." The Shi clan head flipped his hand and drew his sword. He sent out a sharp sword chi at Xiao Chen. This sword chi was much sharper than a regular sword chi. It silently tore through the water like air. A clap of thunder resounded in the sky. Xiao Chen sent out a similar chi. A purple saber chi moved like lightning and clashed with the sword chi that the Shi clan head sent out. Dang! The sword chi and saber chi did not give way to each other. They clashed intensely in the air. The state of thunder that Xiao Chen infused into the saber chi flickered with resplendent electricity, giving off a zzz sound. Relying on the advantage of the state, Xiao Chen's saber chi managed to fight to a draw with the extremely dense sword chi of the Shi clan head. The Shi clan head was mildly startled. He smiled faintly and said, "Without a state to great perfection, it is just an unorthodox method. I will take you down in 10 moves." After the Shi clan head spoke, he took a big step forward and swung his sword upwards. Sharp stone spikes immediately shot out from the ground and headed for Xiao Chen. Each stone spike was about 2 meters long and incredibly sharp. If one was struck by it, even if they were not severely injured, they would at least be skinned alive. The speed at which the stone spikes extended was very fast. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen gauged the height of the stone spikes. They were only 2 meters long. Although they extended for a long distance, as long as he used the blue dragon cloud soaring art, he would be able to leap over them easily. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and leaped into the air. He scattered the state of thunder and launched himself at the Shi clan head's 4th elder. Seeing Xiao Chen in the air, the 4th elder revealed a pleased smile. He said, "I knew you would fly into the air and not choose to retreat. Pu Ci. Pu Ci." The moment the 4th elder spoke, the stone spikes on the ground shot up and gave off ear-piercing roars. They shot at Xiao Chen. Their speed was actually close to the speed of sound. Xiao Chen was startled. He had not expected such a change. Without much time to think, he shouted and the image of a mountain peak appeared above his head, infusing into his saber. Lone Peak Kill. When Xiao Chen chopped down, a spiraling force appeared in the air. It was like a real mountain descending from the sky with a heavy force. Bang! 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 A loud sound rang out. The stone pillars in the air were all shattered by the force of this saber. Stone fragments danced in the air and fell to the ground like rain. The figure of a saber pierced through the rain of stones. Everywhere he passed, he crushed all the stones into dust, filling the air with dust. Xiao Chen's gaze was like lightning. Looking at the dust filling the air, he stabbed out with the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. Dang! It was like he struck a hard rock. The force of the saber that Xiao Chen stabbed out was deflected. He immediately lost his balance in the air and quickly fell to the ground. Elder Shi's voice came from within the dust. He sneered, "My inherited martial spirit has already reached the large success realm. With your half-baked state of thunder, you want to break through my defense? That is simply a pipe dream." Rock-splitting arrow. The 4th elder roared angrily. Countless azure rock patterns appeared on his sword. In the next moment, all the patterns gathered at the tip of the sword. There was an explosive sound and a huge azure whirlpool appeared at the tip of the sword. From the center of the whirlpool, a sharp arrow made of azure rock flew out. It flew rapidly towards Xiao Chen. Chi! 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 As the arrow pierced through the air, it gave off a piercing sonic boom. Ripples appeared in the air from the explosion. It was like countless waves appearing on a calm surface of water. Xiao Chen slowly landed. When he saw the azure arrow flying at him, his expression remained calm. Everlasting startling cloud. Circulating the essence in his body, Xiao Chen executed the state of clouds. After a while, there were large patches of clouds floating around Xiao Chen. Boom! A clap of thunder resounded in the clouds. A tiny strand of purple saber chi split apart the layers of clouds like lightning. It quickly flew towards the azure arrow. In a flash, it was like a ray of multicolored light flying by. It was so fast that it created an illusion. In the next moment, it was as if nothing had happened. The azure arrow that the Shi clan's 4th elder fired was still giving off a piercing sonic boom in the air. It flew towards Xiao Chen. Soon, it would catch up to Xiao Chen, who was about to land. The 4th elder snorted coldly. "I thought you were a powerful person. It turns out you are only SOSO. Even if you kill him, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not stand up for you." Seeing the azure arrow getting closer, all the cultivators present felt their hearts in their throat. They all felt that it was a pity. At this moment, Xiao Chen no longer had any room to change his direction. He could only passively receive this attack. This was the full-powered attack of a peak martial saint. Even a martial king would not dare to receive it head-on. Xiao Chen was only an inferior-grade martial saint. Wanting to block this move when he landed was no different from a fool's dream. It was an impossible task. Who? The azure arrow was already less than a meter away from Xiao Chen's face. The strong wind from the arrow made Xiao Chen's hair somewhat messy. Xiao Chen raised the lunar shadow saber in his hand and shouted, "Explode!" The purple line, which had disappeared earlier, suddenly reappeared. The instant Xiao Chen spoke, the purple line spread out like a screen of water. With a bang, the green arrow in front of his forehead exploded into stone fragments that filled the sky, disappearing into the air. At the end of the line, the Shi clan's fourth elder, who was in the air, had not expected Xiao Chen to have such a move. Pu ci. The fourth elder vomited a mouthful of blood. The clothes on his chest were blasted into nothing by the electric light. A small hole appeared on his chest, which was covered in azure rock. Blood flowed out continuously. Although the wound was small, the electric light on it was unusually strong. It crackled non-stop, preventing the wound from healing. The purple electricity in the air moved about chaotically. Occasionally, some of the electricity would accidentally fall to the ground and explode a huge pit. Xiao Chen stomped on the ground. His body was not injured at all as he landed firmly. With a flip of his palm, the remnant electricity in the air all gathered in his palm. It formed a ball of blazing purple lightning fire. With a toss, the purple lightning fire quickly flew towards the Shi clan's fourth elder. The Shi clan's chest was injured, so he could not dodge in time. He could only toss aside the sword in his hand and draw a circle with his hands, condensing an azure whirlpool. Bang! The lightning fire and the whirlpool collided, giving off a loud sound. A strange energy came from the whirlpool, sucking in the horrifying lightning fire strand by strand. The Shi clan's fourth elder scattered the whirlpool in his hand and fell to the ground with a pale complexion. Blood continued to pour out of the wound on his chest. Damn it! I underestimated this brat's state of thunder. If I had expended a little more essence, I would have been able to block his earlier attack, the Shi clan's fourth elder said hatefully. Chapter 273. A cultivator with an innate bloodline martial spirit was indeed stronger than an ordinary cultivator. Xiao Chen watched as the azure whirlpool swallowed up all the lightning-attributed fire. Xiao Chen thought to himself, although this was just a casual attack from the purple thunder true fire, it was very fast. Most people would have a hard time dodging it. The other party was able to block this attack with his full power despite being injured. This was enough to show that he was not simple. What are you all standing there for? Go and capture these two brats first, the Shi clan's first elder said angrily as he looked at the wound on his chest that could not be closed. The other Shi clan cultivators immediately dismounted and rushed towards Xiao Chen and Lu Suifeng with surging killing intent. Xiao Chen took a quick glance. There were more than 100 people surrounding them. There were 15 inferior-grade martial saints, and the rest were peak martial grandmasters. More than half of them possessed the Shi clan's inherited martial spirit. With such a group of people, even if they were to fight a martial king, they would have a 50% chance of victory. Xiao Chen grasped the saber hilt with his right hand and said to Lu Suifeng, "I will cover the rear. You find an opportunity to leave first." When Lu Suifeng heard this, he was slightly stunned. He smiled bitterly and said, "Although I am not very strong, I know that you have no chance of victory against these people." 1. Before Lu Suifeng could finish speaking, there was the sound of a saber humming in the sky above the street. At first, the sound was soft and inaudible. Then, it slowly grew louder until it was like thunder, deafening everyone. Lu Suifeng's face lit up in joy. He smiled and said, "It's Yun Kursen. She is the eldest daughter of the Yun clan. The Yun clan's influence in Shiha City is no weaker than the Shur clan. We are completely fine now. Boom. The roaming dragon saber, a heaven-ranked spirit weapon, descended from the sky and stabbed into the ground. The street immediately shook. A sparkling and translucent leaf slowly floated down. The leaf disappeared. Yun Kursin, who was dressed in white, appeared. She drew the roaming dragon saber and pointed it at the Shur clan's people. The instant the roaming dragon saber left, the ground immediately stopped shaking. The Shur clan's fourth elder finally stopped bleeding. When he saw Yun Kursin suddenly arrive, he said loudly, "Yun clan's girl, this has nothing to do with you. Quickly move aside." Yun Kursin's expression was calm. She said indifferently, "Elder Shur, you have gone overboard." The Shur clan's fourth elder's face turned red. He knew that Yun Kursin was saying that he had violated the tacit understanding of the older generation and should not have made a move on the younger generation. If these words were spoken by an elder of the Yun family, the fourth elder of the Shur family would not have refuted them. He would only feel ashamed. However, when Yun Kursin said it, the Shur clan's fourth elder felt even angrier. "Since when did a little girl like you have the right to lecture me? You're not qualified. Get out of the way, don't get in the way of our Shur family's business." Dong dong dong. The sound of horses galloping came from the deadlocked street. The Yun clan's cultivators had finally arrived. The leader, a middle-aged man, dismounted from his horse and slowly walked towards the fourth elder of the Shur family. As the middle-aged man walked, he had a majestic gait. A horrifying aura pressed down on the fourth elder of the Shur clan. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense acutely felt this aura. He was startled in his heart. This was the aura of a medial-grade martial king. Xiao Chen could not help but linger on the middle-aged man's face. The middle-aged man was not more than 40 years old. He had an outstanding aura and a grave and stern expression. A light burst out from his eyes as he said coldly, "If my daughter is not qualified, then do I have the qualifications to lecture you?" Before this overwhelming aura, the Shur clan's fourth elder found it difficult to even breathe. His pale face turned extremely unsightly. He had not expected the Yun clan's clan head, Yun Yuji, to personally rush over for this matter. Before the absolute strength of the other party, how could he dare to show any anger? He smiled embarrassedly and said, "Clan head Yun, our clan head personally instructed these two people to apologize to our Shur clan. I hope, scram." Yun Yuji was expressionless. Without waiting for him to finish, he scolded, "Scram before I get angry. If Shur Yang insists on apologizing, I can accompany him to the city lord's residence. We can see who is right and who is wrong, and who should apologize to whom." The Shur clan's fourth elder's face turned red. He had not expected the other party to not give him any face. He waved his hand and said, "Yun Yuji, just you wait and see." After he spoke, he immediately led the Shur clan's cultivators away. This time, the Shur clan had completely lost face. First, it was Shur Feng who was tossed into the street by Xiao Chen. Now, his fourth elder was scared off by Yun Yuji's words. It would be difficult for his reputation not to suffer. After Yun Yuji saw the other party leave, he ignored him. He turned around and walked towards Xiao Chen. He smiled and said, "You must be Yi Chen. I heard Kursin mention you. You are indeed a young hero. Come, the two of you will follow me to the Yun residence first. Once you are there, no one will dare to harass you." On the third floor of Liushang Pavilion, Mu Yanxue looked at Xiao Chen, who was with the Yun clan. She muttered, "Shur Feng probably does not know who he has offended. It looks like the Night Spirit Palace and the Shur clan will have to choose a new partner. Senior Sister Mu, just how strong is this person? Why do I feel like I can't even fight back against him? Our cultivation levels are clearly about the same. Why is that?" A disciple from the Night Spirit Palace asked. Mu Yanxue muttered to herself for a while before saying, "Cultivation realm is not everything about a cultivator's combat prowess. True combat prowess includes the cultivator's cultivation realm, the martial techniques and movement techniques they learn. There is also the comprehension of the states in the martial technique. Finally, there are some external equipment such as spirit weapons, battle armor, and secret treasures. All of these together form the true combat prowess of a cultivator. The martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and movement techniques that he learns are at least superior grade Earth-ranked secret manuals. Furthermore, he has a strong physical body and comprehension of state. In terms of combat prowess, even 10 of you would not be a match for him. That person was somewhat unconvinced as he said, "Based on what you said, doesn't that mean that even first senior brother is not a match for him?" Mu Yanxue smiled faintly and said, "Mu Qingshue's cultivation is higher than his. His martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and movement techniques are not weaker than his. The only thing he is inferior to is the strength of his physical body. The odds of victory are 50-50. Another person said, "Senior Sister Mu, aren't you overestimating him a little too much? From what I saw earlier, Senior Sister could not do anything about him. He is definitely not a match for first senior brother." Mu Yanxue said softly. 3 days later, Mu Qingxue will be participating in the auction as well. If I guessed correctly, this person will definitely be participating in the auction as well. We will know who is stronger and who is weaker when the time comes. Shihe City, in an independent courtyard of the Yun residence, Shao Qin and Yun Kursin sat at a stone table. Yun Kursin gently placed the roaming dragon saber on the stone table. She looked at Shao Qin and said, "Thank you for your roaming dragon saber. It helped me secure the position of the successor of the Yun clan." Spirit weapons could increase a cultivator's offensive prowess. However, the higher the cultivator's rank, the weaker the effect. A profound ranked spirit weapon could increase a martial grand master's offensive prowess by 20%. However, it was not even 10% for a martial saint. Only an earth-ranked spirit weapon could increase a martial saint's offensive prowess by 20%. As for an inferior grade heaven-ranked spirit weapon, it could increase a martial saint's offensive prowess by 50%. With Yun Kursin's strength, a regular superior grade martial saint would not be a match for her after her offensive prowess was increased by 50%. Yun Kursin watched as Shao Qin placed the roaming dragon saber back into the universe ring. She asked probingly, "I discovered that the saber in your hand is only an inferior grade earth-ranked spirit weapon. Why are you not using this heaven-ranked spirit weapon?" The roaming dragon saber was indeed stronger than the lunar shadow saber. However, Shao Qin had no intentions of using the roaming dragon saber. This was because the potential of the lunar shadow saber was much stronger than the roaming dragon saber. A future subdivine weapon versus a heaven-ranked spirit weapon. Shao Qin knew how to choose. Furthermore, he already had a special feeling for the lunar shadow saber. It would be hard for him to part with it for the rest of his life. Shao Qin smiled faintly. "I'm used to it already. I obtained the roaming dragon saber by chance. In the end, it is not as smooth as the lunar shadow saber." When Yun Kursin heard this, she rejoiced in her heart. She said, "If possible, I would like to buy this heaven-ranked spirit weapon. Do you have any intentions of making a move?" Shao Qin was slightly stunned. He did not understand why Yun Kursin wanted to buy the roaming dragon saber. Although there had not been a new heaven-ranked spirit weapon in the past few hundred years, there were still many heaven-ranked spirit weapons. However, the quality of a heaven-ranked spirit weapon was very good. If there were no accidents, it would not be a problem for it to last for 1,000 years. Hence, there were still many heaven-ranked spirit weapons left in the continent. After all, the roaming dragon saber was only an inferior grade heaven-ranked spirit weapon. When one reached the martial king realm, it would be insufficient. With Yun Kursin's talent, it would not be a problem for her to become a martial king. At that time, it would not be worth it to purchase a heaven-ranked weapon. Shao Qin asked doubtfully, "Are you sure you want to buy this heaven-grade weapon?" Yun Kursen nodded seriously. You can state your price. I am now the successor of the Yun clan. The resources that I can use are much more than before. I will not let you suffer a loss. Yun Kursen's attitude was very firm. This made Shao Chen hesitate. He could not use this roaming dragon saber. He could only use it as a backup weapon. If the price was reasonable, it would be fine to sell it. However, the situation was very strange. Shao Chen found it hard to make a decision. Could it be that this roaming dragon saber had a secret that he did not know? When Yun Kursen saw that Shao Chen was hesitating, she continued, "Brother Yi, do you know what is the most attractive thing about this auction?" Shao Chen said, "Linlang Pavilion's decennial auction. Don't they take out some valuable secret manuals, superior grade battle armor, spirit weapons, and some natural treasures? Could it be that there is something else aside from these?" Yun Kursen said calmly, "These are just the basics. The highlight of this auction is the secret treasures." Shao Chen said doubtfully, "Are you talking about the secret treasures? These seem to be present in every auction. However, there are only a few of them." Yun Kursen explained, "It is a little different this time. The ancient desolate land's fiendish demon battlefield is open again. Someone found many complete secret treasures there. This time, there will be a secret treasure in every round of the auction." A complete secret treasure. Shao Chen's heart skipped a beat as he entered deep thought. The method of manufacturing the secret treasures of the ancient era was long lost. Although there were many secret treasures passed down, most of them were not complete secret treasures. The formations in them were more or less missing. Chapter 274. For example, Shao Chen had obtained the silver warship from the ancient remnant. However, it was badly damaged. After Shao Chen used the spirit-gathering formation to repair it with much difficulty, he could barely fly. He did not know how long it would take for him to repair the offensive formations in it. There was another secret treasure, the Eastern Emperor Bell. It was also badly damaged. After he repaired it with the astral iron, he thought he could still use it. However, there were problems now. The damaged nature of secret treasures caused the value of secret treasures to plummet. However, if it was a complete secret treasure, it would be a different story. Yun Kursen continued, "I believe you know the importance of secret treasures to cultivators. You will definitely fancy some secret treasures in this auction. At that time, you will need a lot of spirit stones." After beating around the bush, Yun Kursen returned to the topic. Shao Chen could not help but laugh hoarsely. If it was really as Yun Kursen said, and there would be a large number of complete secret treasures, it would definitely attract many strong cultivators to come and bid for them. With so many people bidding, the price of the secret treasures would definitely soar. Even with the 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones that Shao Chen had, he might not be able to obtain the secret treasure that he fancied. Thinking of this, Shao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Very well, state your price. I will sell the roaming dragon saber." Yun Kursen revealed a faint smile on her delicate face. She said, "You should have guessed that the roaming dragon saber has some secret to it. That's why I am willing to buy it. Are you not afraid of suffering a loss?" To Shao Chen, the roaming dragon saber was an unexpected gain. It could be said to be something that cost nothing. To him, it was not a loss. Furthermore, Shao Chen had studied this roaming dragon saber for a period of time. However, he could not make any headway. He only knew that it was a sharp treasure saber. If Yun Kursen could find some secrets in the saber, it would be her fortuitous encounter. It had nothing to do with Shao Chen. Shao Chen said with a smile, "It's not a loss. I don't need the blue sea wandering dragon daggers at all. Besides, since you said you wouldn't let me suffer any losses, I believe you will." Yun Kursen was mildly surprised. She did not expect Shao Chen to be so open-minded. She hesitated for a while before saying, "Actually, there is an inferior grade heaven-ranked cultivation technique, roaming dragon incantation, hidden within the roaming dragon saber. My Yun clan has a movement technique that comes with it. It is also called the roaming dragon step. If we use it together with the roaming dragon steps, its might will increase by many times. When Xiao Chen heard this, his expression changed slightly. Among all the manuals, cultivation techniques were the most valuable. This was because martial techniques and movement techniques could not directly increase a cultivator's realm and cultivation. A heaven-ranked cultivation technique was a true top-notch cultivation technique on the continent. Even if it was just a basic cultivation technique, it was still a priceless treasure. As far as Xiao Chen knew, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion only had 3 heaven-ranked martial techniques. Only the Pavilion Master's bloodline could practice them. They were the true treasures of the sect. Yun Kursin continued, however, the cultivation technique inside requires some special methods in order to extract it completely. I promise you that after I obtain the roaming dragon incantation, I will make a copy for you. Xiao Chen took out the roaming dragon saber from the universe ring and handed it to Yun Kursin. If you can really do it, I can give you this roaming dragon saber. Yun Kursin received the roaming dragon saber and revealed a faint smile on her face. She said, "This is just an agreement between you and me. The one who truly wants to buy the roaming dragon saber is the clan's decision. The 5,000 medial grade spirit stones will be given to you, not a single one missing." Xiao Chen thought for a while and understood the meaning behind Yun Kursin's words. The Yun clan would definitely not leak out the roaming dragon incantation after obtaining it. Yun Kursin wanted to make a copy for him. She had put in a lot of courage. If the Yun clan knew about this, they would definitely not agree. 3 days later, I will gather the spirit stones and give them to you. You should rest first. After Yun Kursin spoke, she took her leave. Late at night, the Yun clan head, Yun Yuji, and a group of elders gathered in a secret room of the Yun clan. They all had grave expressions. An elder said to Yun Yuji, clan head, "We still have not found out the identity of that Yi Chun. This person seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. We only know that he went to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion with Feng Feishue's recommendation letter." When Yun Yuji heard this, he revealed a grave expression. After a while, he said, "Never mind, just give him the 5,000 medial grade spirit stones. Don't think about anything else." An elder said unhappily, clan head, 5,000 medial grade spirit stones is the accumulation of our Yun clan over 100 years. Yun Yuji waved his hand and said, "Spirit stones are inanimate objects in the end. With this heaven-ranked cultivation technique, we can nurture at least 10 loyal martial kings. It would be sufficient for our Yun clan to suppress the other 2 great clans in Shiha City. Furthermore, this person has a close relationship with the Feng clan. If we make a move on him, it will be easy to offend the Feng clan. Furthermore, I do not wish to put Kursin in a difficult position. Don't mention the matter of silencing him again." There were still 3 more days before the auction started. During these 3 days, Xiao Chen did not stop. He made good use of his time every day to cultivate, stabilizing his strength as a peak inferior grade martial saint. He was making preparations to break through to medial grade martial saint. Once he became a medial grade martial saint, Xiao Chen would be able to use the large number of medial grade spirit stones in the universe ring. The spiritual energy contained in medial grade spirit stones was not only pure, but it was also very vast. Using a medial grade spirit stone to cultivate for a day was equivalent to cultivating for a week normally. Furthermore, this was based on the density of Lingyun mountain range's spiritual energy. If it was based on the density of spiritual energy on the ground, it would be equivalent to cultivating for half a month normally. This was also why the value of medial grade spirit stones was so high. To cultivators, their lives would come to an end one day. Within a limited amount of time, they would be able to absorb as much spiritual energy as possible. Their cultivation would also increase. To Xiao Chen, the large amount of time he could save was incomparably important. Xiao Chen only started cultivating at the age of 15. As for those geniuses, they started cultivating from the moment they were born. They were many times stronger than him. Hence, Xiao Chen did not dare to relax for even a moment. Even so, his cultivation was still lower than those geniuses. Hence, he had to think of other methods. Medial-grade spirit stones was one of them. It was an important method for him to catch up to those geniuses. This was also one of the reasons why Xiao Chen agreed to sell the roaming dragon saber to Yun Kursin. It was because he urgently needed a large number of medial-grade spirit stones. 3 days passed very quickly. Early in the morning, Xiao Chen had just opened his eyes when he felt a strong aura slowly heading towards his courtyard. Xiao Chen got up and rushed out. He discovered the Yun clan's clan head, Yun Yuji. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior Yun, is there something you need from me?" Yun Yuji's gaze was like lightning as he scanned Xiao Chen from head to toe. He nodded to himself. Although Xiao Chen's cultivation was not very high, his essence was calm and reserved. There was no sense of restlessness. It was clear that he had put in a lot of effort into it. Furthermore, from the information that he had gathered in the past 3 days, he had gained a deeper understanding of Xiao Chen's strength. He knew that although Xiao Chen was only an inferior-grade martial saint, he was not weak at all. He knew that although Xiao Chen was only an inferior-grade martial saint, his true combat prowess was already comparable to a regular superior-grade martial saint. Being able to have such a cultivation at such a young age, his future would be even brighter. Hence, Yun Yuji completely gave up on the idea of killing Xiao Chen to renege on the 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones. If he was not careful and allowed Xiao Chen to escape, the Yun clan would be in trouble when he matured. Instead, he might as well build a good relationship with Xiao Chen before he matured. In the future, the Yun clan might gain a strong helper. Yun Yuji collected his thoughts and smiled. 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones is a large sum for the Yun clan. I only managed to gather them now. With a hualala sound, Yun Yuji flipped his palm and a large pile of glittering medial-grade spirit stones appeared on the ground. Under the sunlight, they were very dazzling. This was not the first time Xiao Chen had seen so many medial-grade spirit stones. However, he still felt somewhat excited in his heart. However, he still maintained a calm expression. "That's right, our Yun clan will be going to the auction today as well. Do you want to come with us?" Yun Yuji invited warmly. Xiao Chen preferred peace and quiet. Furthermore, he did not want too many people to know about the things he was auctioning. So he could only reject politely. Yun Yuji smiled faintly and did not force the matter. Then, he took out a VIP card and handed it to Xiao Chen. He said, "This VIP card can give you a VIP room in the auction. Keep it. Consider it a small token of this Yun's appreciation." Xiao Chen had always been a straightforward person. This VIP card was useful to him and could save him some trouble. Xiao Chen did not reject it and received the VIP card. He thanked Yun Yuji. "Many thanks for Senior Yun's kind intentions. I will remember this favor." Yun Yuji laughed loudly and said, "It is just a VIP card. It is not much of a favor. I will take my leave first." After Yun Yuji left, Xiao Chen slowly calculated in his heart. Adding the 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones from earlier, the 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones from the underground world, and the 200 medial-grade spirit stones from the mission reward, there was a total of 10,200 medial-grade spirit stones. There was a total of 10,200 medial-grade spirit stones. This was a huge sum. If converted to inferior-grade spirit stones, it would be 100. Such a large sum was comparable to the accumulation of some noble clans for hundreds of years. If he used all of it for cultivation, it would be sufficient for him for a long time. There were also some inferior-grade spirit stones. These inferior-grade spirit stones came from a variety of sources. Some were exchanged with gold, some with spirit pills, and many were obtained from bandits in the Devil Savannah. All in all, there were about 100,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. To Xiao Chen, these inferior-grade spirit stones were no longer very useful. He could only use them as currency to conduct transactions. Aside from this, there were also some demonic cores that he obtained in the subspace. If he exchanged them for spirit stones, they would be a large sum. After he finished his calculations, Xiao Chen said, "No matter how good the treasures in the auction are, I can only spend 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones at most. The remainder have to be used for cultivation." Originally, Xiao Chen's goal in the auction was to obtain a lightning-attributed martial technique. At most, he would only need to spend 100,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. However, when he heard from Yun Kursen that there would be a large number of secret treasures in the auction, he had no choice but to have another goal. To a regular cultivator, secret treasures could only increase their combat prowess. However, to Xiao Chen, with the help of the Compendium of Cultivation, he could obtain some complete secret treasures. Who knows, he might be able to refine his own secret treasures in the future. Chapter 275. If he could completely grasp the method of refining secret treasures, he would not have to worry about not having enough spirit stones to use in the future. Thus, this secret treasure was something that Xiao Chen wanted to obtain. Not long later, Lu Suifeng rushed over. He had an excited expression on his face. Lu Suifeng said, "Yi Chen, the Yun clan head invited us to the auction. Are you going?" Xiao Chen shook his head. "I have already rejected him. If you want to go, you can go by yourself. I prefer peace and quiet." Lu Suifeng said, "Never mind, I will go with you." The two of them stopped talking and walked out of the Yun residence. After they found out the address of Linlang Pavilion, they immediately headed over. Along the way, they met many cultivators rushing over. They were all heading in the direction of Linlang Pavilion. There were people from all sorts of sects and places. It was very lively. The two of them were not slow. They arrived at the entrance of Linlang Pavilion after 10 minutes. However, they discovered that there were many cultivators gathered at the entrance. However, they were all blocked by the guards. After asking around, they found out that the requirements for this auction were very high. Those without a martial saint cultivation or an invitation card were not allowed to enter. This way, a large group of martial grandmasters were blocked at the entrance. There were many of these cultivators, and they all had dissatisfied expressions on their faces. However, they did not dare to act recklessly. Lu Suifeng said in a soft voice, "Fortunately, I am already an inferior-grade martial saint. Otherwise, I would not even have the qualifications to enter. This standard is very high." It was necessary for the requirements to be high. The space in Linlang Pavilion was fixed. If so many people were allowed in, the seats would not be high. Then, the auction would not be able to continue. The two of them parted the crowd and walked towards the entrance. The guards at the entrance took a look at their cultivation and let them in. They did not stop them. "Please purchase your tickets first." Just as the two of them stepped through the entrance, they saw a simple counter at the side. A pretty girl behind the counter spoke to them. Lu Suifeng was about to step forward and ask when Xiao Chen stopped him. He took out the VIP card that Yun Yuji had given him. The woman took the VIP card and glanced at it. She immediately smiled and said, "So the two of you have a VIP card? In that case, there is no need to buy a ticket. You can go directly to the second floor and find the room number." Xiao Chen took back the VIP card and walked to the second floor of the auction house with Lu Suifeng. The auction house had an arched structure. At a glance, the seats in the hall were almost all occupied. It was bustling with activity and people were surging about. Xiao Chen found a manservant. Under the manservant's guidance, he quickly found his private room. The space in the private room was very spacious. The window was wide open, and one could clearly see everything in the hall from the inside. The field of vision was very wide. Lu Suifeng felt it was strange and asked, "I did not expect there to be a private room. That's right, when did you get your VIP card? Don't tell me this Linlang Pavilion was opened by that damn fatso. Xiao Chen sat comfortably on the round wooden chair. He took a sip of tea and said, "Of course not. The VIP card was sent by Yun Yuji this morning." Lu Suifeng said unconvinced, "How depressing, why didn't that fellow give me one?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly. "If you sold him a heaven-rank spirit weapon, he would have given you one. Let's not talk about it anymore. The auctioneer is coming." Lu Suifeng stopped asking and looked through the window. Indeed, he saw the auctioneer walking out with a smile on his face. With the appearance of the auctioneer, the chatter in the hall gradually died down. When the noise completely quieted down, when everything quietened down, the auctioneer's loud and clear voice rang out in everyone's ears. "Thank you, everyone, for participating in our Linlang Pavilion's once-a-decade large-scale auction. I will make a long story short. After a simple introduction of the auction, we will begin immediately. We will not waste everyone's time. This auction will be divided into 10 rounds. The things auctioned will be more precious with each round. It is as everyone guessed." After the auctioneer said this, he paused for a while before raising his voice. "In every round, we will auction a complete secret treasure. That's right, a complete, undamaged ancient secret treasure that can be used immediately after the auction." Just as the auctioneer's passionate voice fell, the quiet hall was immediately filled with the sounds of discussions. The hall became noisy once again. "It is really a complete secret treasure, a total of 10 complete secret treasures. Linlang Pavilion is really generous. I heard long ago that the gates to the demon battlefield reopened. Looks like after this auction, there will be even more cultivators going there to try their luck. Haha, without the cultivation of a martial king, if you want to go to the demon battlefield, aside from seeking death, there is no other result. Even a martial king might not be safe and sound there. This time, I heard that many famous martial kings have died there." Demon battlefield, this was the second time Xiao Chen heard of this term. Xiao Chen thought to himself, what kind of place is that? Why would there be secret treasures there? If I have time in the future, I can go there and join in the excitement. The auctioneer looked at the hall and was very satisfied with the effect of the discussion. After the voices gradually became weaker, the auctioneer looked at the hall and was very satisfied. After the voices slowly weakened, a clear and resonant voice rang out once again. "The rules of the auction will not change. Everyone knows this, so I will not say it. There is only one change. All transactions can only be completed with spirit stones. A medial-grade spirit stone can be exchanged for 100 inferior-grade spirit stones. Now the auction officially begins. The first auction item will now be revealed. It is a superior-grade spirit stone. The starting bid is 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. The auction will now begin." The first item to be auctioned was actually a superior-grade spirit stone. Not only was Xiao Chen in his booth surprised, but everyone in the hall was also shocked. A superior-grade spirit stone was equivalent to 100 medial-grade spirit stones, which was 100,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. However, everyone knew that this was not how the price was calculated. Just like how no one would be foolish enough to exchange a medial-grade spirit stone for an inferior-grade spirit stone for no reason, no one would use a superior-grade spirit stone to exchange for an inferior-grade spirit stone. The value of a superior-grade spirit stone was no longer as simple as a spirit stone. It could be considered a natural treasure. The spiritual energy contained in it was not only incredibly pure, but it was also large and gentle. A cultivator of any cultivation realm could use it. For cultivators below Martial Saint, it could even raise their cultivation by an entire realm. However, no one would use a superior-grade spirit stone when they were below Martial Saint. That would be a waste of a treasure. Only when one was a martial king or martial monarch would they be able to completely absorb the energy in the superior-grade spirit stone without wasting anything. With the density of spiritual energy in the Great Qin nation, the few spirit veins might not even produce a single superior-grade spirit stone within 10 years. This showed how rare superior-grade spirit stones were. When Xiao Chen saw the superior-grade spirit stone glowing with a spiritual light, he could not help but be tempted. A superior-grade spirit stone was something that could only be found and not sought. It had a fatal attraction to almost all cultivators. Lu Suifeng shook his head and sighed. A large-scale auction is really different. This is only the first auction item, and I can't help but want to buy it. Perhaps it was because the superior-grade spirit stone was too shocking to the crowd. There was a momentary silence. No one immediately called out a bid. 20,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. 20,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. I bid 30,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. 50,000. However, after that, there was a continuous stream of bids in the hall. Every time, the price increased by 10,000. Soon, the price of the superior-grade spirit stone reached 50,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. After the price passed 50,000 inferior-grade spirit stones, the number of bids decreased. After all, although a superior-grade spirit stone was good, there was a limit to its value. A martial saint would only be able to obtain 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones in a year through all sorts of missions and hard work. If they did not have any fortuitous encounters, they would only be able to obtain 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones at most. That would be considered doing well. If they did not do well, they would be lucky to have 5,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Even so, 50,000 inferior-grade spirit stones would require 5 years to accumulate. If they only used one superior-grade spirit stone, the gains would not make up for the losses. After all, a superior-grade spirit stone could only be used after one became a martial king. Not being able to use it after buying it was a problem. 60,000. 70,000. 75,000. 80,000. After the hall was silent for a while, there were bids again. At this moment, the ones bidding were all martial kings and cultivators with strong clans and sects backing them. The auctioneer revealed a joyful expression. He originally thought that the bid would only reach 50,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. He did not expect it to reach 80,000. 80,000 going once. 80,000 going twice. Is there anyone who bids higher than 80,000? If there is none, this superior-grade spirit stone will belong to the person in Booth 8. In Booth 8 on the second floor, there were 2 old men watching the auction below with indifferent expressions. These 2 old men were famous solitary martial kings in the Shiha province. However, if one looked carefully at their eyes, they would discover that under their indifferent expressions, there was a hidden evil intent. They were incomparably ferocious. If the people below saw their appearances, they would definitely be able to recognize their names. One of them was Gu Yuntian and the other was Gu Yunfei. These 2 were blood-related brothers. They had a famous nickname in the Shiha province. They were known as the Shiha twin demons. They were very ruthless in their actions. Killing others for their treasures was a common occurrence. Gu Yunfei smiled and said, "Big brother, it looks like this superior-grade spirit stone belongs to you." Gu Yuntian smiled faintly and said, "I have been stuck at early-stage inferior-grade martial king for 10 years already. With this superior-grade spirit stone, I will definitely be able to reach peak inferior-grade martial king." One should not underestimate the difference between early-stage inferior-grade martial king and peak inferior-grade martial king. After martial saint, it was very difficult to advance by a grade. However, with every increase in grade, one's strength would increase significantly. When one became a martial king, this situation would be even more obvious. Some cultivators with insufficient talent would be stuck at early-stage inferior-grade martial king for their entire lives. If one did not have enough talent and wanted to advance further, they could only think of other methods. This superior-grade spirit stone was one such method. In booth 9, beside booth 8, a group of Night Spirit Palace disciples sat together. One of them said, "Senior Brother Mu, are you not going to bid for this superior grade spirit stone?" Chapter 276. The youth addressed as Senior Brother Mu was the top expert of the Night Spirit Palace, Mu Qingshu. He revealed a casual smile on his handsome face. He said, "Superior grade spirit stones are indeed precious. However, the price is already too high. There is no need to make a move. Furthermore, to me, it is something that is not essential. If I have it, it would be the icing on the cake. If not, it would not matter." The other disciples did not understand Mu Qingshue's words. Only Mu Yanxue understood what he meant. Superior grade spirit stones were very useful to cultivators with low talent. For example, Gu Yuntian. Although he had advanced to Martial King, he was not talented enough. He was stuck at inferior grade Martial King for 10 years. However, to a genius like Mu Qingsue, such a huge bottleneck could not happen to him. With Mu Qingshue's talent, he would only encounter such a huge bottleneck after he became a peak superior grade Martial King. Hence, this superior grade spirit stone would only be the icing on the cake for him. Inside the booth, Xiao Chen thought for a while. In the end, he decided to give up. His reason was the same as Mu Qingshue's. The price of 80,000 inferior grade spirit stones was already too high. It was not worth it to buy it. Furthermore, he still had the Golden Lion King's spirit core in his universe ring. The Golden Lion King had the bloodline of an ancient mutated beast. Its spirit core was no weaker than a superior grade spirit stone. In the future, if he met with a bottleneck, he could use the Golden Lion King's spirit core to replace it. 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones, I want it. Just as the auctioneer was about to close the deal, another bid resounded in the hall. Furthermore, it was 20,000 inferior grade spirit stones in one go. The auctioneer revealed an excited expression. He said excitedly, "Booth 20, someone bid 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Is there a higher bid? This is a superior grade spirit stone. It can raise a Martial King by 1 grade. Friend in booth 8, do you still want to raise the bid?" Bang! Gu Yuntian smashed the teacup on the table with his palm. The teacup immediately shattered into powder. The indifferent expression on his face completely disappeared. He became very ferocious and revealed a murderous intent. Gu Yunfei said, "Big brother, I still have 150,000 inferior grade spirit stones here. Let's see if he still dares to raise the bid." A cruel smile appeared on Gu Yuntian's face as he said, "There's no need. I want to see who dares to compete with me. I will make him spit it out with interest." Gu Yunfei reacted and a smile appeared on his face. He had almost forgotten what he was doing. After the auction, he could just snatch it back. When Xiao Chen heard the bid of 100,000 silver taels, he was mildly astonished. This was obviously not the true value of a superior grade spirit stone. It was too much of a loss. After hesitating for a moment, Zhang Xian's spiritual sense shot toward booth 20 like an arrow. A moment later, he saw the owner of booth 20. "Chu Chaoyun," Xiao Chen said doubtfully, "what does he want this superior grade spirit stone for? With his talent, there is no need for it." Chu Chaoyun, who was in the private room, frowned slightly. It was like he could feel someone spying on him. He said to the girl beside him, "Go out and check who is in private room 8. I can sense too intense killing intent." Xiao Chen quickly withdrew his spiritual sense. He thought that Chu Chaoyun had sensed his spiritual sense. It turned out that it was someone else. In the end, no one made a bid for the superior grade spirit stone. Chu Chaoyun won it at the exorbitant price of 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones. The auction continued. The second item was not as dazzling. It was only an inferior grade earth-ranked spirit weapon. The starting bid was 1,000 inferior grade spirit stones. In the end, it was won by a cultivator from a small sect for 5,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Aside from the superior-grade spirit stone at the start, the other items in the first round were very precious. However, Xiao Chen was not interested in them. On the other hand, Lu Suifeng spent 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones to bid for a superior-grade earth-ranked martial technique. That martial technique was pretty good. It was considered a good item among superior-grade earth-ranked martial technique. Soon, the first round of the auction was about to end. At the final moment, the auctioneer's voice was clearly much more excited. Suddenly, two cultivators went up to the auction platform. The auctioneer explained, "Everyone should be able to guess what the final item is. We have decided to use the most thorough method to display this secret treasure to everyone." Of the two cultivators, one had a very high cultivation. He was as strong as a peak superior grade martial disciple. The other was only an ordinary martial grand master. The auctioneer nodded to the two of them. The peak martial saint started to store up energy. His aura slowly gathered. The nearby cultivators could feel the pressure. When his aura reached its peak, the peak martial saint roared ferociously and punched at the martial grand master in front of him. Boom! Before everyone's astonished gazes, a light barrier suddenly appeared on the martial grand master's body. When the peak martial saint's full-powered strike struck the light barrier, it gave off a muffled sound. There were ripples on the light barrier, but it did not show any signs of breaking. On the contrary, the peak martial saint's complexion turned pale from the rebound of the light barrier. He was knocked back a few steps before he slowly stabilized himself. The martial grand master dispersed the light barrier. He was not injured at all. He removed a jade pendant from his neck and handed it to the auctioneer. After that, he took his leave with the peak martial saint. The auctioneer received the jade pendant and said in a clear and resonant voice, "Earlier, everyone saw it for themselves. This jade pendant allowed the martial grand master to easily block the full-powered strike of a peak martial saint. Furthermore, it is not just a simple block. It can reflect a third of the force back to the enemy. According to the tests of our Linlang Pavilion, this secret treasure can block the full-powered strike of a peak medial-grade martial king at best. The only flaw is that it can only be used once a day. Aside from that, there are no other flaws. The auction will begin now. The starting bid is 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. Each bid must be no less than 2,000 inferior-grade spirit stones." Linlang Pavilion's reputation had always been very good. Since the other party said that it could block the full-powered strike of a peak medial-grade martial king, then it must be true. If that was the case, the use of this jade pendant was rather horrifying. Although it could only be used once a day, it could save one's life at the most crucial moment. It might even be able to turn the tables. This was because the light barrier could reflect the force of the attack. In a situation where the opponent did not know about it, it was a very good trump card. Such a secret treasure was very useful for cultivators. Everyone would encounter danger. It would increase their chances of survival. Lu Suifeng smiled and said, "This is a good thing. There are really many of them. If it does not exceed 100,000 spirit stones, I would want to buy it." Xiao Chen was very interested in this secret treasure as well. If it could block the attack of a peak medial grade martial king, then it would be very useful. 20,000, 35,000, 50,000, 80,000. The bidding for this jade pendant was even more intense than for the superior grade spirit stones. In just a moment, someone called out the price of 80,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Lu Suifeng muttered to himself, "It looks like people are afraid of death." Xiao Chen thought for a while and made his move at this moment. 100,000. Lu Suifeng was somewhat surprised. He said, "Yi Chen, you want to bid for this jade pendant as well? I thought you would not need it." In his opinion, Xiao Chen's movement technique was already very fast. Even if there was an opponent that he could not defeat, He could use his movement technique to escape. Rather than spending a large amount of spirit stones to buy a defensive secret treasure, he might as well wait a while and buy an offensive secret treasure. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "If possible, I would like to obtain all 10 secret treasures. Furthermore, this jade pendant happens to be useful recently." After the price reached 100,000, the entire place fell silent. 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones was already a horrifying number. If anyone wanted to bid again, they would have to consider it carefully. 150,000. Right at this moment, a low and deep voice suddenly resounded, and it instantly raised the price by 50,000. It shocked everyone present in the surroundings. The auctioneer immediately grabbed the opportunity and said excitedly, 150,000 inferior grade spirit stones. A cultivator wearing black clothes is really generous. Is there a higher bid than 150,000? Xiao Chen was somewhat astonished. He looked through the window and discovered that the person who bid was a peak martial saint wearing black clothes and a cloak. Under the shadow of the cloak, no one could see his appearance clearly. He looked very mysterious. Xiao Chen thought for a while and continued to bid, 200,000. The auctioneer's mood was completely uplifted. The higher the bid, the more commission he would receive. He said excitedly, "Booth 18 bids 200,000. This cultivator in black clothes, are you going to continue bidding?" The cultivator in black clothes muttered to himself for a while and raised his head to look at Xiao Chen's booth. Xiao Chen looked down and saw a pair of green eyes. It was very strange. The cultivator in black clothes withdrew his gaze and waved his hand to indicate that he had given up. 200,000 was already a sky-high price. Even cultivators with large sects and clans behind them would find it difficult to take out such a sum. Finally, the auctioneer called out the hammer 3 times. Xiao Chen had successfully obtained the first secret treasure. Lu Suifeng said, 200,000 for a defensive secret treasure, is it worth it? Hey Yi Chen, what's wrong? Are you regretting it? Ever since Xiao Chen saw that pair of green eyes, he had not recovered his wit. The shock that those eyes gave him was too great. It was like a demon had crawled out of hell. It was very strange. He had never seen anyone with green eyes before. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and said, 200,000 is worth it. It is the full-powered strike of a peak medial grade martial king. Did you forget who targeted us when we arrived? With this jade pendant, I will give that person a pleasant surprise. The second round of the auction started. Xiao Chen had already gotten some clues. The first and last items of every round were the most attractive. Indeed, it was as Xiao Chen had guessed. The auctioneer slowly took out the first item of the second round. He introduced it with a smile on his face. This is a bottle of quintessence gathering pills. There is a total of 20 of them. Below Martial King, they can increase the chances of advancing by 20%. No one in the Great Qin Nation can refine such a pill. Even in the Great Qin Nation, there is a limit to the number. The starting bid is still 10,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Chapter 277. In Booth 9, a bright light flashed in Mu Qingshue's eyes. He clenched his fist and said indifferently, I finally got what I wanted. I must obtain this medicinal pill. A true treasure did not need much introduction. The price of the quintessence gathering pill quickly rose to the horrifying price of 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones. 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones was a dividing line. Only those who could afford it could afford it. Aside from martial kings, only the disciples of the big clans and sects could afford to pay such a price. Mu Qingshu said indifferently, 200,000. Mu Qingshu increased the bid by 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones in one go. The horrifying price shocked the cultivators who wanted to continue bidding. Even if they could take out 200,000 inferior grade spirit stones, they would not be able to be as calm as Mu Qingshu. It was clear that Mu Qingshu was determined to obtain it and would bid even higher. Booth 9. I seem to recall that Mu Qingxue entered booth 9. No wonder he is so rich and overbearing. As the first successor of the Night Spirit Palace and the strongest of the new generation, the resources that he can mobilize are not something that a regular person can compare to. The people who can compete with him will probably give up on the account of the Night Spirit Palace. Right, to prevent each other from raising the price. When that happens, everyone will be at a disadvantage. It is best to give each other some face. When the people below saw that no one made a bid and that the price had exceeded 200,000, they started to discuss it. The auctioneer on the platform could no longer remain calm. Even if this quintessence gathering pill was sold at its normal price, it would be worth 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Now, the price had only doubled. After deducting the channel fees, Linlang Pavilion would not be able to earn much. The auctioneer said loudly, "Only 200,000? This is a genuine quintessence gathering pill. You will not be able to buy it outside of Linlang Pavilion in the Great Qin Nation." 250,000. The auctioneer's eyes lit up. He laughed loudly and said, "Booth 18 has made a bid. 250,000. The esteemed guest in booth 9, are you afraid to bid?" The auctioneer's words were very provocative. At certain times, he could increase the anger of others. Most people would fall for it if they were not rational. A faint killing intent appeared in Mu Qingshue's eyes. He said in a cold voice, 300,000. Xiao Chun had come out this time for the sake of this quintessence gathering pill. Originally, he thought that he had brought 400,000 inferior grade spirit stones with him. He was confident that he would be able to obtain it. Who knew that someone like Chen Yaojin would appear and completely ruin his plans? Xiao Chun had to obtain this quintessence gathering pill. This quintessence gathering pill was very important to him. This quintessence Xiao Chun had to obtain. This quintessence gathering pill was very useful to him. Xiao Chun would be able to use medial grade spirit after medial grade martial spirit. He said without hesitation, 400,000. He said, mu thousand, spirit, and said, mu Chen have mu and said, mu. He have. I have v mu, I can. Mu, I have mu. I only have 5,000. 10 spirit. 10 spirit. Xiao Chen 1,000 spirit. Spirit 1,000 Xiao Chen with. Spirit was, Ling Chen. 500,000. Xiao Chen's expression was calm. He said casually, 500,000. The entire hall was silent. No one had expected a bottle of quintessence gathering pill to reach such a high price. 500,000 inferior grade spirit stones. A regular martial saint would have to work hard for 50 to 60 years before they could obtain it. It was an astronomical figure. However, this person did not hesitate to spend it on a bottle of quintessence gathering pill. Booth 18. Why is it booth 18 again? The person who won the first secret treasure seems to be this person as well. I wonder who this person is. He actually dares to snatch Mu Qingshue's things. There will be a good show to watch later. A person who can take out 700,000 inferior grade spirit stones is definitely not someone to be trifled with. There is no need to fear the Night Spirit Palace. Xiao Chen made his move again. He immediately became the focal point of everyone's discussion. The auctioneer on the auction platform was very excited. His face was filled with an excited smile as he said, 500,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Is there anyone who intends to make a higher bid? The friend in booth 9, do you not want it any more? Mu Qingshue's expression turned gloomy. He remained silent and clenched his right fist tightly. The other Night Spirit Palace disciples in the booth all felt a chill. They trembled in fear. They had never seen Mu Qingxue so angry before. After a while, Mu Qingxue relaxed his frown. He lay down gently on the round wooden chair. He shifted his center of gravity, causing the floor to sizzle. Then, he slowly closed his eyes. Mu Yanxue, who was familiar with Mu Qingshue's character, knew that he was truly angry and had a murderous intent. After calling out 3 times, no one answered. Xiao Chun successfully put away the bottle of quintessence-gathering pill. He revealed a faint smile on his face. Lu Suifeng said in astonishment, "Xiao Chun, where did you get so many inferior-grade spirit stones?" 500,000. Xiao Chun smiled and said, "I had a lot of high-ranked demonic cores in the subspace. If I sold them all, they would be worth 200,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. I can still afford it." Originally, Xiao Chun planned to keep the demonic cores in the universe ring for himself. It looked like he could only use them here. No matter what, he could only use 7,000 of the 10,000 medial-grade spirit stones. That was 700,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. He had to keep the rest for himself. The second round of the auction continued. Xiao Chun noticed that the items in this round were much more precious than the previous one. Unfortunately, the item he was waiting for did not appear. The atmosphere of the auction became increasingly lively. Many cultivators managed to buy the treasures that they wanted. Soon, the second secret treasure appeared. It looked like an ordinary pair of boots. However, after the demonstration, everyone discovered that it could increase the user's movement technique by close to 20%. This 20% was not to be underestimated. To martial masters and martial grandmasters, 20% was only that much. However, to high-ranked cultivators, their speed was already very fast. If they increased it by 20%, their speed would be very horrifying. After the auctioneer found someone to demonstrate it, he smiled and said, "I have given this pair of boots a nice-sounding name, Windwalk Boots. 20% increase in speed. Whether it is escaping or attacking, one can advance or retreat at will. Furthermore, there are no restrictions on the usage of these boots. It will only increase the exhaustion of essence. The starting bid is still 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones." There were simply too many good things. Xiao Chun immediately took a fancy to the Windwalk boot. He calculated the spirit stones he had in his heart. However, he discovered that he did not have enough spirit stones. He spent 200,000 on the first secret treasure and 500,000 on the medicinal pills. That was 700,000. He originally had 1,200,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. If he sold the demonic cores, he would be able to gather about 1,500,000. That was to say, he only had 800,000 inferior-grade spirit stones left. He still had 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones, so he only had 500,000 inferior-grade spirit stones left. Xiao Chun thought to himself, "If it exceeds 300,000 inferior-grade spirit stones, I will not buy it. I still have to save some money to purchase a lightning-attributed martial technique." As Xiao Chun was thinking, the bidding price of the Windwalk boots had already reached 150,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. 200,000. At the crucial moment, Xiao Chun made another move. He raised the bidding price by 50,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. The fiery atmosphere in the hall immediately turned silent. It is booth 19 again. How many spirit stones does this person have? Even a large clan would not be able to take out so many inferior-grade spirit stones in one go. He is really rich. Who is this person? The people on the floor discussed in soft voices. Occasionally, there would be people looking at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun hid himself at the back, avoiding these gazes. 220,000. After a moment of silence in the silent hall, someone finally made a bid. However, it was only an increase of 20,000. Xiao Chun did not hesitate to call out, 300,000. The auctioneer said excitedly, "The guest in booth 18 bid 300,000. Is there anyone who wants a bid higher than 300,000? The person who made a bid earlier snorted coldly and did not make another bid. After that, no one made another bid. After 3 clangs of the hammer, Xiao Chun successfully obtained this Windwalk boot. The third round of the auction began. Like before, the first item of each round was very eye-catching. However, Xiao Chen felt helpless and did not compete. The following auctions continued. The items were all rather good. However, there was nothing that Xiao Chen wanted, so he did not make a bid. Even when the third secret treasure was auctioned off, Xiao Chen still did not make a bid. The people below heaved a sigh of relief. If Xiao Chen won this secret treasure again, he would block everyone else's path. This might incur public anger. The auction continued. All sorts of secret manuals appeared. However, there was no high-ranked lightning-attributed secret manual that Xiao Chen wanted. He could not help but feel bored. Suddenly, he frowned and raised his right hand, sending out a strand of purple thunder true fire. Pu-si-ai. In an instant, the purple fire pierced through the wooden door. There was a soft cry of pain coming from outside. At the same time that he made his move, Xiao Chen sent out his spiritual sense at lightning speed. However, he did not find any traces of the person peeping at him. He only saw a trace of blood at the door. What a fast speed, Xiao Chen thought to himself. This person's method of hiding his aura is also very profound. I wonder who it is. Lu Suifeng said in astonishment. Someone is targeting us? Xiao Chen nodded and said, Go out and stay with the Yun clan's people first. I will go out alone later. Lu Suifeng knew that Xiao Chen did not want him to be in danger. After warning Xiao Chen to be careful, he quickly left booth 18. Following that, Xiao Chen kept an eye out. He kept his spiritual sense out, monitoring everything in his surroundings. Suddenly, a pool of flowing water appeared on the floor of the booth that Chu Chaoyun was in. After a while, the water formed into a human figure. It was the girl who went out to gather information. The girl said in a melodious voice, I found the people in booth 8. They are the Shiha twin fiends. I overheard them. They are indeed preparing to make a move on you, senior brother. Chu Chaoyun smiled faintly and said, So, it is these two clowns. They are of no importance. Lyria, what's wrong with your hand? When Chu Chaoyun noticed a faint wound on the girl's arm, he could not help but feel suspicious. Lyria smiled and said, It's nothing, it's just a small injury. I was asking around for the person in booth 18 and he discovered me. Chapter 278. Chu Chaoyun was somewhat surprised. Lyria's martial spirit was rather special. Her method of hiding her aura was something that even a regular martial king would not be able to discover. The owner of booth 18 is the old friend that senior brother met in Liushang Pavilion. Chu Chaoyun said, So, it is him. No wonder you were discovered. There is no need to bother about him for now. I have already obtained what I wanted. I can leave after the auction ends. Soon, the auction reached its final round. The auctioneer took out the first item of the 8th round and smiled. The next item is a lightning-attributed peak earth-ranked martial technique, Wukuei Saber Technique. According to legend, the Wukuei Saber is a divine tree born from lightning. In the ancient era, there was a strong cultivator who comprehended under the Wukuei tree. From there, he created the Wukuei Saber Technique. Of course, the one in my hands is not the true ancient copy. It is just a martial technique that was completed using the incomplete Wukuei Saber Technique. Although it does not have the might of the legends, it is considered a peak earth-ranked saber technique. To all the bladesmen here, this is a rare martial technique. The starting bid is still 10,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. He had finally found what he had been waiting for. He did not hesitate to call out, 50,000. The person from booth 18 made a move again. This time, he actually wants this saber technique. Fortunately, I do not need it. Haha, I do not need it either. Otherwise, I would not be able to outbid him. Damn it, I was just looking for a lightning-attributed saber technique. There is no hope now. I can't be bothered to bid anymore. I definitely cannot outbid this person. Even if I bid, it would be pointless. Seeing that no one made a bid in the noisy hall, Xiao Chen did not expect that he could achieve such an effect. When the auctioneer saw this, he became very anxious. Normally, this peak Earth-ranked martial technique would fetch at least 200,000 spirit stones. Now, no one made a bid at 50,000. The auctioneer called out a few more times, but no one made a bid. This is a great loss. The auctioneer cursed Xiao Chen in his heart. In the end, he could only say helplessly, 50,000 inferior grade spirit stones. This martial technique belongs to booth 18. Xiao Chen revealed a faint smile and said, "Looks like having too much money can scare people to death. This is a bargain for me." Xiao Chen had finally obtained what he had been waiting for. He had basically achieved his goal in this auction. However, as for the other 8 secret treasures, he had no choice but to take a look. After 4 hours, the auction came to an end. Linlang Pavilion sent someone to deliver the items that Xiao Chen had bid for to the private room. Linlang Pavilion had a professional appraiser. Xiao Chen's high-ranked demonic cores were sold without a hitch. After selling the demon cores, Xiao Chen started to pay the bill. A bottle of quintessence gathering pills, 2 secret treasures, and a lightning-attributed martial technique. A total of 1,050,000 inferior grade spirit stones. Xiao Chen still had more than 4,000 medial grade spirit stones left. Xiao Chen placed the items in the universe ring and pushed open the door to the private room. He immediately felt an intense killing intent. He smiled faintly and ignored it. Xiao Chen walked out of the door. When Mu Qingxue saw Xiao Chen leave, he revealed a faint smile on his handsome face as he held the holy weapon, Beauty under the Moonlight. He said, "So, it is him." In the depths of Mu Qingxue's right eye, there was a simple and unadorned bronze mirror spinning rapidly. It clearly saw through Xiao Chen's disguise. Not long after Xiao Chen left Linlang Pavilion, he was immediately blocked by Mu Qingxue and the others on the street. Mu Qingxue had a cold smile on his handsome face. It made his exquisite face look even more enchanting. He looked at Xiao Chen and said indifferently, "I seem to remember that we met outside Yunyang City." Xiao Chen had a good memory. He was very familiar with this person. He nodded and said, "We have indeed met before. However, you did not block me today just to say that, right?" Mu Qingxue did not beat around the bush and said directly, "Give me 10 quintessence gathering pills. I will give you 100,000 inferior grade spirit stones." Xiao Chen had spent 500,000 inferior grade spirit stones to buy quintessence gathering pills. However, there were only 20 of them. 10 of them, even if he bought them at normal cost, would cost 25 inferior grade spirit stones. However, Mu Qingxue was only willing to pay 100,000. This was no different from daylight robbery. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "Sorry, this is not for sale. Please move aside, I still have matters to attend to." "Who?" Mu Qingxue's right hand moved with a so sound. He casually placed it on Xiao Chen's shoulder and said softly, "Did I say you can leave? You dare to snatch something that I, Mu Qingxue, have set my eyes on. I will say it again, are you selling or not?" Mu Qingxue's voice was very soft, but it did not contain any emotions. It was incomparably cold, and contained a boundless killing intent. A cold light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He replied coldly, "Let go, I am not familiar with you." "Kassier." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he placed his right hand on the saber hilt at lightning speed. He immediately executed the rushing thunder saber techniques, drawing the saber. Mu Qingxue's reaction was not slower than Xiao Chen's. In fact, he was even faster. By the time Xiao Chen's right hand touched the saber hilt, Mu Qingxue had already unsheathed his sword. Bang! 2 dazzling lights flashed in the air. The saber and sword clashed in the air, giving off a melodious clang. A strong wind blew on the street. Xiao Chen's saber arrived first despite being launched later. Although he was slower than his opponent, he used the technique of drawing the saber to increase his speed. The two of them each took 5 steps back. A huge force rebounded from the saber to their arms. This caused Xiao Chen's right hand, which was holding the saber, to go numb. He could not help but become more cautious. Dark clouds suddenly gathered in the clear sky. From time to time, muffled sounds of thunder could be heard from the rolling clouds. Mu Qingxue looked at the dark clouds in the sky and said indifferently, "Small perfection state of thunder. No wonder you dare to make a move against me. Unfortunately, it is only small perfection." Hu Qi. Suddenly, a strong wind blew behind Mu Qingxue. Occasionally, there would be lightning tearing through the sky. The other Night Spirit Palace disciples quickly moved to the side. "This is First Senior Brother's state of wind and thunder. This fellow is dead for sure," one of the Night Spirit Palace disciples who was injured by Xiao Chen said excitedly. Mu Yanxue stood quietly at the side, remaining silent. She did not express her opinion. To her, this was a good opportunity to observe Mu Qingxue's true strength. The clouds churned in the sky, the strong wind howled, and lightning flashed. The commotion was huge, attracting the attention of almost all the pedestrians on the street. Xiao Chen's gaze was calm as water. Mu Qingxue was able to perfectly merge the two states of wind and thunder. He was truly worthy of being the top expert of the Night Spirit Palace. Hu Qi. Mu Qingxue pushed off the ground and a strong wind blew for no reason. Mu Qingxue's body soared into the air. The sword in his hand, which was as gentle as moonlight, contained a boundless killing intent as it stabbed at Xiao Chen. A cold light flashed on the sword and a horrifying bolt of lightning appeared in the strong wind. Before the sword arrived, the bolt of lightning had already arrived before Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. His figure flashed on the ground, creating a purple arc. He dodged the lightning bolt before it arrived. Boom! The lightning bolt blasted a large hole in the place where Xiao Chen was originally standing. It kicked up a lot of dust, but the strong wind immediately blew it away. The instant the strong wind scattered, Xiao Chen's figure appeared behind Mu Qingxue. There was a loud crack of thunder in the sky. Xiao Chen carried the surging momentum of thunder as he hacked at Mu Qingxue with the lunar shadow saber. Mu Qingxue flicked his wrist and his sword immediately blocked Xiao Chen's attack. Bang! 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 The two of them attacked very quickly in the air. When the saber and sword clashed, thunder and lightning appeared continuously. It was so loud that it hurt the eardrums of everyone present. Shockwaves that could be seen with the naked eye spread out from the two of them. When the shockwaves spread out, some of the buildings on the street were immediately crushed into dust. There was an increasing amount of dust in the strong wind. The surrounding people could no longer see the situation clearly. They could only guess the intensity of the battle from the incessant shouts. A light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He found an opportunity and immediately executed the roaming dragon's 9 transformations and the clear wind chop. Amidst the strong wind and lightning, Xiao Chen turned into 9 figures. There were 9 gentle breezes blowing on each figure. In an instant, Xiao Chen's killing chi suddenly disappeared amidst the intense battle. It was very strange. Mu Qingxue smiled faintly and said, "Qingyun Peak's secret technique, clear wind chop. You can only see the cool breeze and not the saber. It is just an insignificant skill." The holy weapon, Beauty Under the Moonlight, gave off a magnificent glow. There was a gentle golden moonlight on the sword. Amidst the blurry moonlight, there seemed to be a girl chanting softly. As the girl chanted softly, the surrounding space rippled like countless waves on the surface of water. Mu Qingxue's figure instantly became very blurry. Xiao Chen was startled. This was the Tao of the holy weapon. Mu Qingxue used the holy weapon to temporarily change the laws of this space. So, the 9 figures merged into one in the air and passed through Murong Shue's blurry figure. However, Mu Qingxue's figure appeared in front of Xiao Chen like a mirror image. Xiao Chen had a mocking smile as he looked at Xiao Chen. Then, he quickly flew towards Mu Qingxue. However, at this moment, the distance between him and Mu Qingshue's seemed like an eternity. No matter how Xiao Chen moved, Mu Qingshue's figure was always 10 meters in front of him. To Xiao Chen, 10 meters was merely a step. However, this step was a step. Although Xiao Chen was astonished, he did not panic too much. He maintained his composure. Suddenly, Xiao Chen stopped and used his spiritual sense to protect his body. Then, he slowly descended. Even so, Mu Qingshue's figure remained 10 meters away from him, slowly descending with him. Pu Ci. A resplendent beam of moonlight suddenly shone on Xiao Chen's eyes. The melodious voice of a girl rang in Xiao Chen's ears. The moonlight blurred Xiao Chen's vision. The girl's voice interfered with Xiao Chen's hearing. Space started to ripple rapidly. Instantly, Xiao Chen's 5 senses were all gone. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and suddenly grasped the air with his left hand, grabbing the incoming sword blade. Mu Qingshue's face was filled with astonishment. He said, "That's impossible. Your 5 senses are all gone. How can you know where I am attacking?" Xiao Chen remained silent. The lunar shadow saber flickered with a purple light as he chopped at Mu Qingshue's body. Chapter 279. The sword in Mu Qingshue's hand was firmly grasped, and he was unable to dodge this strike. His body turned into gentle moonlight as he was struck by the saber, disappearing into the air. The strange space disappeared, and the strong wind dissipated. Mu Qingxue landed on the ground with a pale complexion. The small world he created using his holy weapon had been destroyed by Xiao Chen, and he had suffered quite a bit of backlash. After suffering a loss at the hands of Xiao Chen in front of so many people, Mu Qingshue's face was very gloomy. Die! 9 flashes sword. Mu Qingshu roared angrily, and the strong wind and lightning appeared again. The holy weapon, Moonlight Beauty, reappeared in his hand. Using the force of the strong wind, he quickly appeared in front of Xiao Chen. Layers of golden light appeared on the blade of the sword, changing continuously. Xiao Chen was surrounded by sword images. There was clearly only one strike, but it came from 9 different directions. It made it hard to tell if it was the real body or an illusion, or if it was all the real body. Xiao Chen shouted, "Lone Peak Fatal Blow!" An illusion of a mountain rose from the ground. In the past, the illusion of a mountain would descend from the sky. However, in order to deal with the current situation, Xiao Chen used this move in reverse. Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations. The instant the Lone Peak Fatal Blow was executed, Xiao Chen quickly circulated his essence and executed the Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations in an extremely short period of time. In an instant, the illusion of 9 mountains appeared in the sky. The mountains overlapped, and it was impossible to tell which was the real one. Dang! 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 9 metallic clangs rang out at the same time. In the next moment, the figures of the mountains and Mu Qingshu merged together. The 2 of them shouted loudly, and their auras were incomparably ferocious as they exchanged another move. 2 bolts of lightning streaked across the sky at the same time, illuminating the gloomy sky like the sun. After a while, there were 2 roars of thunder, and the 2 of them retreated 9 steps. Ka Xie. Mu Qingshu sheathed his sword, and the beauty of the Moonlight Beauty immediately disappeared. He said indifferently, "You may leave." Xiao Chen's expression remained incomparably calm. There were no fluctuations at all. He sheathed the lunar shadow saber and slowly walked forward. The 2 of them were equally matched. If they didn't bring out their true abilities, they wouldn't be able to determine the victor even after exchanging 100 blows. It was obvious that the 2 of them would not use their trump cards in public. Doing so would only expose some of their trump cards. Who exactly is this person? He actually managed to fight Mu Qingshu to a draw. Since when did such a young expert appear in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? I remember now. 3 days ago, he was also the one who injured the 2nd son of the Shi family. Even the 4th elder of the Shi family couldn't do anything to him. So it's him. He's really daring with so many people. Mu Qingxue and the Shi clan are not to be trifled with. He just used the Qingyun secret technique. He must be from Qingyun Peak. He must be a disciple of Qingyun Peak. However, I heard that Qingfeng has been in decline for many years. However, this person is really low profile. He did not even leave behind a name. He managed to fight to a draw with Mu Qingxue. At the very least, he will be famous in the Shihe province. When the surrounding cultivators saw that Xiao Chen was not at a disadvantage against Mu Qingxue, they were all astonished. A Night Spirit Palace disciple walked over to Mu Qingxue's side. He asked in confusion, "First senior brother, why did you let him go?" In the boundless void in the depths of Mu Qingxue's right eye, the copper mirror shone with a faint light. It was as though it could see through everything in the world. Xiao Chen's true appearance was imprinted on the copper mirror. Mu Qingxue memorized this appearance in his heart. A murderous intent appeared in his eyes as he smiled faintly. The higher a person flies, the more painful the fall will be. Let him fly for a while longer. In the Yun residence of Shihe City, after Xiao Chen ended his fight with Mu Qingxue, he immediately rushed to the Yun residence to look for Lu Suifeng. Xiao Chen said, "Suifeng, you should go back alone this time. Go through the Devil Savannah with the Yun residence's merchant group. There should not be any danger." Lu Suifeng felt it was strange, so he asked, "Why? Is there something else?" Xiao Chen looked up at the boundless sky. During his fight with Mu Qingxue earlier, he felt that indistinct killing intent again. This proved that the mysterious cultivator who followed the two of them through the Devil Savannah was still very patient. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and nodded. "That person's target is me. There should be no problem for you to go alone. I have decided to stay with the Yun clan for a while longer." Lu Suifeng thought for a while and said, "In that case be careful. When necessary, don't go all out." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "I do not fear this person at all. I just want to cultivate for a while longer and capture him completely. I just want to know who the person behind him is." Lu Suifeng did not say anything more. After he communicated with the Yun clan, he left Shihe City with the Yun clan's merchant group in the afternoon. As for Xiao Chen, he asked for a quiet courtyard from the Yun clan. This was something that Yun Yuji could not ask for more. Along the way, Yun Yuji had heard about the fight between Xiao Chen and Mu Qingxue. Being able to fight Mu Qingxue to a draw made him value Xiao Chen's potential even more. Late at night, the full moon hung quietly in the sky like a plate. In the bedroom, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the bed. He took out 2 quintessence gathering pills and poured them out. When a cultivator below Martial Monarch consumed the quintessence gathering pill, their chances of breaking through would increase by at least 20%. The lower their cultivation, the higher the chances. Right now, Xiao Chen was only an inferior grade martial saint. 1 quintessence gathering pill could increase his chances of breaking through by 40%. 2 would be 80%. In addition to his own accumulations, breaking through to medial grade martial saint should not be a problem. Xiao Chen placed the 2 quintessence gathering pills in his mouth. The pills melted in his mouth and turned into a refreshing liquid. It flowed down his throat and into his blood vessels, merging with his blood. Xiao Chen slowly circulated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation to speed up the absorption of the quintessence. After the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation completed a small cycle, he completely absorbed the medicinal energy of the 2 quintessence gathering pills. Bang! In the Qi whirlpool in his dantian, Xiao Chen felt a strong energy gush out. The crystalline purple Qi whirlpool started spinning frantically. Is this the strength of the quintessence gathering pill? Xiao Chen thought to himself, how horrifying! This is almost as much energy as I can absorb in a month. Although the strong energy was very berserk, it was maintained at a certain level. It continuously tested the limits of what Xiao Chen could endure. This way, it ensured that Xiao Chen could break through safely. It was like a bottle containing water. Xiao Chen's body was the bottle and the essence in his body was the water in the bottle. If Xiao Chen wanted to break through, he had to increase the volume and quality of the water, making the bottle bigger. This was a very dangerous process. However, the quintessence gathering pill gave Xiao Chen's energy a formless and gentle barrier. It could ensure that the bottle would not be forcefully broken by Xiao Chen. With the protection of the quintessence gathering pill, Xiao Chen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation without any worries. The pure lightning attributed essence of heaven and earth flowed into Xiao Chen's body like water. The room was filled with a purple light. Xiao Chen's heart was as calm as water, like an ancient well. One great cycle passed, 2 great cycles passed. In the end, the purple thunder divine incantation circulated a total of 72 great cycles. Bang! A crisp sound came from Xiao Chen's body. The original bottle suddenly shattered. After a while, it formed a new bottle. The quantity and quality of the essence in the bottle had increased by 20%. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and 2 purple lights flashed. He looked at the remnant purple energy in the room and said excitedly, "I did it! It was worth spending so many spirit stones to buy the quintessence gathering pill. It is really effective." Hu Qi. Xiao Chen waved his hand and the remnant lightning-attributed energy in the room immediately formed a purple whirlpool. With a schwa sound, it all flew into Xiao Chen's right hand. Xiao Chen's right hand immediately turned crystal clear, giving off the color of glass. With a thought, a strand of purple flame appeared on Xiao Chen's index finger, spinning continuously. So, Xiao Chen flicked his finger gently and the purple flame crashed into the wooden table in the room. The wooden table did not give off any sound and immediately turned into a pile of dust. Xiao Chen got up and muttered, "Now that I am a medial-grade martial saint, even a regular inferior-grade martial saint would not dare to receive a casual strike from the purple thunder true fire. This can be considered one of my trump cards. I should go out and test out the magic treasures that I obtained from the auction first. Later, when my essence is completely stable, I can use the medial-grade spirit stones." When Xiao Chen pushed open the door, sunlight immediately shone in. He squinted his eyes and said softly, "It is actually noon already. Indeed, there is no concept of time when cultivating." Xiao Chen shook his head and went out to wash up. Then, he entered the courtyard feeling refreshed. He took out the windwalk shoes from the universe ring and put them on. The instant Xiao Chen put on the windwalk shoes, he immediately felt a strange energy flow through the meridians in his feet and quickly connected with his mind. With a thought, he could use the windwalk shoes immediately. Looking at the windwalk shoes, Xiao Chen smiled gently. "I did not expect a complete secret treasure to be so convenient to use. The formation markings in it are definitely not damaged at all. Let's not think about this for now. Let's test out the speed of the windwalk shoes first. Let's see how fast it is." Xiao Chen looked around the courtyard and quickly circulated the essence in his body for the blue dragon cloud soaring art. In the next instant, he turned into a beam of purple light and ran quickly around the courtyard. Pu Ci. Pu Ci. Xiao Chen raised his speed to the limits of his body. At this moment, his speed was infinitely close to the speed of sound. His body gave off an ear-piercing sound of friction with the air. The air was like a calm surface of water. With the sound of the explosion, the surface of the water rippled continuously, forming a horrifying shock wave. Immediately, a strong wind blew in the courtyard. The sand billowed and the small trees fell to the side. It looked like they would be uprooted at any moment. Xiao Chen thought to himself, "The blue dragon cloud soaring art is the exclusive movement technique of the blue dragon martial spirit. It is at least medial grade heaven rank. I cultivated it to small perfection long ago. Unfortunately, I could not break through the bottleneck after that. As a result, my speed has been stuck in the middle, unable to reach the speed of sound. Let's see if the speed of the windwalk shoes can help me make a breakthrough." With a thought, the formation markings in the windwalk shoes immediately activated. In the next moment, Xiao Chen felt his body lighten. The ear-piercing sound of the explosion disappeared, and the strong wind in the courtyard subsided. Chapter 280. Everywhere Xiao Chen passed, he left behind afterimages. After a long time, the afterimages slowly disappeared. I really reached the speed of sound. Xiao Chen stopped walking and revealed a joyful smile. After reaching the speed of sound, his body had already started to merge with the air. The friction created would naturally disappear into the wind, and there would not be any intense sonic booms. Xiao Chen withdrew his smile and said, "Most cultivators can only reach the speed of sound after they advance to Martial King. These windwalk shoes allow me to reach the speed of sound when I am a medial-grade martial saint. The 200,000 spirit stones were not spent in vain. If Murong Chang's state of wind did not improve further, then my speed would have already surpassed his. At the very least, I would not be at a disadvantage against him in terms of speed." Without wasting any time, Xiao Chen continued to test how long his essence could last if he used the windwalk shoes at full power. After 2 hours, Xiao Chen looked at the remaining half of his essence. He said, "It looks like there should be no problem using it for 4 hours. However, when I fight, I will exhaust more essence. I will only be able to use it for about 3 hours. However, that is already pretty good." Xiao Chen took out 2 inferior-grade spirit stones and held one in each hand. Then, he sat cross-legged on the ground and started to recover his essence. After 1 hour, the spirit stones lost their luster and Xiao Chen's essence was replenished. Only then did he slowly stand up. When Xiao Chen looked at the courtyard gates, he was surprised to discover that Yun Kursin had arrived at some point in time. He quickly got up and went over. "Senior Sister Yun, are you looking for me?" A strange look flashed in Yun Kursin's calm eyes. She said, "Yi Chen, you broke through again?" Xiao Chen nodded and smiled. "And this is all thanks to the quintessence gathering pill. Probably saved me 2 months of time." Even without the quintessence gathering pill, with Xiao Chen's talent and the cultivation speed of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, Xiao Chen would not be stuck at peak inferior grade martial saint for long. However, being able to save 2 months was also a great help to Xiao Chen. What he lacked the most now was time. Yun Kursin's expression turned calm once more. She revealed a smile on her delicate face and said, "Congratulations, I was just passing by to see you. Since you are cultivating, I will not disturb you anymore. Goodbye." "Wait a moment." Xiao Chen stopped Yun Kursin. Yun Kursin turned around and found it strange. She asked, "Is something the matter?" Xiao Chen nodded. "Good, I want you to help me test the defensive strength of my artifact. Use your strongest move to attack me." That jade pendant was not like the windwalk boots, it was a defensive secret treasure. Xiao Chen would definitely not be able to test it himself, so he would have to find someone to help him. Yun Kursin teased, "So, you are looking for me to do hard labor. I was wondering what it was. You are looking for me to do hard labor for free." Xiao Chen could not help but laugh hoarsely. He discovered that after he got to know Yun Kursin, she was not as indifferent as she appeared. She had a cute and mischievous side to her. However, this Yun Kursin was more genuine. Xiao Chen was easier to get along with. He said, "How about 1 quintessence gathering pill?" Yun Kursin burst out laughing. Her delicate face looked like an orchid. She said, "I was just teasing you. Prepare yourself. I heard that it can block the strike of a peak medial grade martial king. I can only do my best." Xiao Chen took out the jade pendant and placed it on his chest. He immediately felt a cooling sensation. Like the windwalk boots, the formation markings in it instantly connected to Xiao Chen's mind. It was very convenient to operate. After he got used to it, Xiao Chen had a cautious expression as he said, "Come on, I'm ready." Yun Kursin had a calm expression. Soon, she entered a state of mind as calm as still water. she slowly drew the heaven-ranked roaming dragon saber. The dazzling saber gave off a bright light under the sunlight. Her aura started to gather quickly. Her calm gaze became as sharp as a saber light. The saber in her hand started to tremble slowly. The sound of the saber trembling grew louder and louder. It reverberated endlessly in the surroundings. Formless ripples spread out in the air, creating a strong wind. Boom! The unending sounds suddenly merged together and turned into a loud sound rushing to the 9 heavens. The sound dispersed a large patch of clouds in the sky. Without the clouds blocking the sunlight, it was so dazzling that it made one's eyes hurt. Yun Kursen's aura finally reached its peak. It turned into a sharp saber and shot at Xiao Chen. Her figure followed this aura in the air and headed for Xiao Chen. She actually did not show any mercy, Xiao Chen thought to himself as he watched Yun Kursen unleash her peak attack. With a thought, a transparent barrier enveloped Xiao Chen. Bang! When the heaven-ranked spirit weapon struck the barrier, it gave off a loud sound. The surface of the barrier rippled like water. Xiao Chen, who was within the barrier, felt a huge force. He took 2 steps back, but he did not suffer any injuries. On the contrary, Yun Kursen was knocked back by the rebound force. Her complexion was very pale, without any color of blood. Xiao Chen quickly retracted the barrier and walked over quickly. He asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" "It is just a test, there is no need to go all out." Yun Kursen did not answer Xiao Chen's question immediately. She was stabilizing the chaotic essence and surging qi and blood in her body. After a while, Yun Kursen's complexion slowly recovered. She revealed a smile on her delicate face and said, "It's fine. Since it is a test, I have to do my best. That way, you won't have to worry too much when you fight with others in the future." Yun Kursen paused for a while before she said, "I have a heaven-ranked spirit weapon. When I execute the Heavenly Melody Saber technique, my full power strike is equal to an inferior grade martial king. This barrier did not show any signs of shattering under my full power strike. It should be able to block the full power strike of a medial grade martial king." A heaven-ranked spirit weapon could raise Yun Kursen's attack power by 50%. Furthermore, she had a saber technique that could raise her attack power. Yun Kursen's attack power was indeed equal to an inferior grade martial king's. Xiao Chen took out a quintessence gathering pill and tossed it to Yun Kursen. "Many thanks." Yun Kursen stretched out her hand and caught the quintessence gathering pill. She smiled faintly and said, "I only found out today that my full power strike is so valuable. It can be exchanged for a quintessence gathering pill worth close to 30,000 inferior grade spirit stones. It looks like when I have time, I have to come here more often. In a few days I will be rich." Xiao Chen blushed with shame in his heart. He smiled gently and said, "In that case, I would become a pauper." The two of them smiled at each other and chatted for a while. Finally, because someone from the Yun clan came to summon Yun Kursen, they ended their conversation. After Yun Kursen left, Xiao Chen tried to use the jade pendant on his chest. However, there was no reaction. He could not make contact with it. It looked like it was as Linlang Pavilion said, it could only be used once a day. After resting for a while, Xiao Chen took out some dry rations from the universe ring to eat. After a while, he took out the lightning-attributed high-ranked martial technique, Wukuei Saber Technique. The Wukuei Saber Technique had a total of 9 moves. It was a typical lightning-attributed martial technique. Its original form was an incomplete heaven-ranked martial technique from the ancient era. Later, it was patched up and its might was much weaker than the original. Many of the martial techniques in the Sky Martial Continent were actually derived from the ancient martial technique. Only a small portion were created by the later generations. Patching up an ancient martial technique and adding in one's own insights and viewpoints was also a type of martial technique. However, it was much rarer than the previous 2 types. The reason was none other than the incomplete martial technique. It was because the martial technique that was patched up would definitely be incomplete. Comprehending an incomplete ancient martial technique was much more difficult than deriving or creating one's own insight. Furthermore, adding in one's own viewpoint and merging it with the viewpoints of an old friend was even more difficult. These two reasons caused this type of martial technique to be very rare. Under the blazing sun, Xiao Chen carefully looked at the wukuei saber technique. With just one glance, he was deeply immersed in it. He only managed to finish reading it when it was dusk. Closing the book, Xiao Chen felt many emotions in his heart. He muttered, "The person who edited this book is truly a genius." Not only did he completely comprehend the thoughts of the ancients, he even corrected a few mistakes. He merged his own comprehension with the wisdom of the ancients, forming a new fusion. If this person had not obtained an incomplete copy, the might of this new wukuei saber technique would not be any weaker than the ancients. The instant he closed the book, Xiao Chen's gaze inadvertently landed on a line of blurry words on the last page of the book. That line of words was written in the ancient era, which was the traditional Chinese characters of Earth. Because the words were blurry and it was traditional Chinese characters, most people would not notice it. Xiao Chen read it out softly. The original work was not detailed. Sang Mu revised it in the year 689 of the Great Qin era. If there are any inadequacies, please correct me. Thunder King Sang Mu. After reading to the end, Xiao Chen was completely stunned. The person who edited this secret manual was actually the Thunder King Sang Mu. If he remembered correctly, the Thunder King was only 20 years old in the year 689 of the Great Qin era. He already had such a horrifying talent at the age of 20, accomplishing something that others could not do in 100 years. What kind of person was the Thunder King of 1,000 years ago? Xiao Chen's thoughts wandered. He thought about the time he met this person. Back then, when the Thunder King taught him the Battle Sage Origins changing character formula, he only said one sentence: one move to break 10,000 techniques, one chi to shake the world. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen's talent was insufficient. Even now, he was still confused about this sentence. He did not understand it at all. As a result, when he used the Battle Sage Origins to imitate a martial technique, there were too many flaws. Thinking about the Thunder King, Xiao Chen remembered that promise again. Don't let her cry. Xiao Chen's gaze fell on the lunar shadow saber. He nodded his head solemnly in his heart. Recollecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen placed the wukuei saber technique into the universe ring and prepared to practice the wukuei saber technique. The wukuei saber technique had a total of 9 moves. The first 3 moves were the foundational saber techniques, the foundation of the wukuei saber technique. If he wanted to practice the last 6 moves, he had to completely comprehend the first few foundational saber techniques. The 4th to 6th moves were the sure kill move. After executing them, every move could force the opponent into a desperate situation. The 7th to 9th moves were the sure kill move. As the name implied, sure kill meant that the moment the move was executed, it could kill the opponent for sure. Of course, this was just a saying. The so-called sure kill did not mean that the opponent would definitely die when the move was executed. It was just a concept. Xiao Chen placed his right hand on the saber hilt and closed his eyes. His mind was at peace as he entered into a state of meditation. After an unknown amount of time, night fell quietly. There was no moonlight tonight. The courtyard was pitch black. One could not even see their fingers if they stretched out their hands. The courtyard was completely silent. Chapter 281. Glittering Wukuei. Suddenly, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and waved his right hand. The snow-white lunar shadow saber flashed with a dazzling light in the dark night. Xiao Chen executed the first move of the wukuei saber technique. A purple branch of the ancient divine wukuei tree appeared from nowhere. It turned into saber chi and headed for a small tree in the courtyard. It was as fast as lightning. The 5-meter-tall tree was immediately chopped into pieces, which danced in the air in the small courtyard. Wukuei transforms to chi. Xiao Chen executed the second move of the Wukuei saber technique. Instantly, the entire figure of the divine Wukuei tree appeared. It turned into dozens of sharp purple saber qi and turned the tree fragments in the air into dust. Qi breaks Wukuei. Xiao Chen shouted and executed the third move of the Wukuei saber technique. Instantly, the purple saber qi in the air gathered together and formed an extremely sharp saber qi. Under Xiao Chen's command, the sharp saber qi entered the ground with a schwa sound. A hole as thick as an index finger immediately appeared in the ground. This strand of saber qi was incredibly dense. There were no cracks on the sides of the hole, it was smooth and glossy. It was not inferior to the saber qi of a regular peak superior grade martial saint. Ka Xie. Xiao Chen withdrew his saber and stood upright. When he saw the scene in the courtyard, he revealed a faint smile. The foundational moves of the Wukuei saber technique were much stronger than the first 10 moves of the Lingyun saber technique. Of course, this did not mean that the Lingyun saber technique was inferior to the Wukuei saber technique. The Lingyun saber technique was also a peak earth-ranked saber technique. If there was a person who could perfectly merge the state of mountains and clouds, it would be comparable to the Wukuei saber technique. It could only be said that the Wukuei saber technique was more suitable for Xiao Chen. In his hands, it was much stronger than the Lingyun saber technique. Because he was in the Yun clan, he did not dare to cause too much of a commotion. When Xiao Chen demonstrated these 3 moves, he did not use the state of thunder. He only used 10% of his essence. It was easy to imagine how powerful these 3 moves would be if they were infused with the small perfection state of thunder and unleashed all of their essence. Xiao Chen once again comprehended the concepts of these 3 moves. After a while, he continued to practice these 3 moves. If he did not practice these 3 moves to the great accomplishment stage, Xiao Chen did not intend to practice the remaining 6 moves. The foundation was the foundation, and it had to be firmly laid. At midnight, Xiao Chen stopped practicing his saber and entered his bedroom. He took out a medial-grade spirit stone from his universe ring and prepared to use it to cultivate. Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the bed and held the spirit stone in his right hand. He closed his eyes and slowly circulated the purple thunder divine incantation. Boom! The purple thunder divine incantation did not give Xiao Chen much time to prepare. The instant he circulated the purple thunder divine incantation, the vast essence in the medial grade spirit stone surged into his meridians like a river. The terrifying Yuan Qi immediately filled up Xiao Chen's meridians and rampaged through them. Like a wild horse, Xiao Chen frowned. He felt some pain. He calmed himself down and did his best to control this surging spiritual energy. After a long time, after much effort, Xiao Chen finally managed to tame this wild horse, slowly making it docile. After a while, he successfully circulated the spirit stone in a minor cycle and poured it into the purple qi whirlpool. Dee-da! Dee-da! The purple qi whirlpool spun rapidly. Drops of crystalline essence liquid fell quickly and immediately replenished a quarter of Xiao Chen's essence. Xiao Chen guarded his mind and continued to circulate the purple thunder divine incantation. The spiritual energy in the medial grade spirit stone flowed in continuously. He circulated it for 5 major cycles before he completely absorbed all the spiritual energy. The purple qi whirlpool was larger than before. Its color was also deeper. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated another cycle. Xiao Chen finally had complete control over the spirit stone in the medial grade spirit stone. After he stopped cultivating, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and tossed away the medial grade spirit stone that had lost its luster. He said indifferently, "1 medial grade spirit stone is equivalent to half a month of my bitter cultivation. No wonder medial grade spirit stones are so expensive." During the days in the Yun residence, Xiao Chen practiced his saber techniques during the day and used the medial grade spirit stone to raise his cultivation at night. Yun Kursin would come by almost every day. Aside from chatting, she would also exchange pointers with Xiao Qin. This was exactly what Xiao Qin wished for. Coincidentally, he needed someone to exchange moves with the Wukuei saber technique that he practiced. After exchanging pointers, the two of them would comment on each other's martial technique. What surprised Xiao Qin was that Yun Kursen's attainments in the saber technique were exceptionally deep. Her unique understanding of the Wukuei saber technique was very helpful to Xiao Qin. As the two of them discussed it together, Xiao Qin's progress in the Wukuei saber technique was very fast. In 7 days, Xiao Qin practiced the first 3 moves to great perfection. Although there was still a long way to go before he reached consummation, he could feel at ease practicing the remaining 4 to 6 killing moves. Just like this, another half a month passed. Xiao Qin practiced the 3 killing moves to the peak of small perfection. Its might was much stronger than Xiao Qin had imagined. If he combined it with the state of thunder, it would be comparable to the Lingyun saber technique's everlasting startling cloud and twisting road around peak. As for the remaining 3 killing moves, their might would be incomparable. After more than 20 days, Xiao Qin had exhausted a total of 30 medial-grade spirit stones. The amount of essence his body could store increased every day. In less than a month, Xiao Qin's cultivation had already stabilized at the peak of early medial-grade martial saint. On this particular day, Xiao Qin finished practicing the Wukuei saber technique. He looked at the blazing sun above him and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He said indifferently, "It is time to leave. I hope that person has not left yet. Otherwise, all my efforts would have been wasted." Outside the courtyard, Yun Kursen held a flask of wine and 2 wine cups in her hand. She slowly walked in and sat at the stone table. She filled up the wine cups and smiled faintly. "Here's to you." Xiao Qin smiled faintly and sat down. He picked up the wine cup and drained it in one go. He said, "Strange, how did you know I was leaving today?" Yun Kursen filled up Xiao Qin's cup again and said, "I said it long ago, my judgment of people is very accurate. When I saw your expression yesterday, there was something wrong." Xiao Qin drank another cup and said, "That's right, when are you preparing to return to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion?" When Yun Kursen heard this, an undetectable desolation flashed in her calm eyes. She took a sip of wine and said, "I will probably not go there often in the future. I am now the successor of the Yun clan. My focus will be on the Yun clan." Xiao Qin noticed the desolation in Yun Kursen's tone. He thought of something and asked, "That's right, there is something I have always wanted to ask you. Why is a girl like you so interested in saber techniques? Furthermore, your attainments in saber techniques are so deep." Xiao Qin's question was rather abrupt. However, it was the truth. In the Tianwu continent, when a girl practiced martial arts, their first choice of weapon was the sword. This was easy to understand. The elegance and carefreeness of the sword suited a girl's temperament. That was why there were not as many female disciples in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion as there were in the Misty Sword sect. Furthermore, even if some girls learned the saber, they would not spend too much time researching the deeper meaning of saber technique. Very few girls were like Yun Kursen, completely immersing themselves in saber technique. Even Xiao Qin felt ashamed of his own inferiority to Yun Kursen's understanding of saber technique. Thus, Xiao Qin found this question very strange. When she heard this question, Yun Kursen revealed a youthful smile on her delicate face. She said, "My personality dictates it. I have liked the saber since I was young. Later on, I heard some stories about bladesmen. So, I decided to become one. After that, I arrived at the holy land of bladesmen. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is no longer the Heavenly Saber Pavilion of the past. I did not see a true bladesman." A true bladesman? Xiao Qin felt it was strange. Could it be that there was a difference between a real and a fake bladesman? Yun Kursen explained, "The bladesman I am talking about is the bladesman of the ancient era. In this world, the sword came before the saber. Do you know why?" Without waiting for Shao Chen to reply, Yun Kursen continued, because the sword is a ceremonial weapon. It represents benevolence, righteousness, and the air of a gentleman. Thus, it is the ancestor of all weapons. Only a person with great boldness can be called a swordsman. However, there are very few people in this world who are able to do that. Most of them are people who try to be cultured and use the name of a swordsman to act like a hypocrite. Later on, there were some people who knew that they could not be a true gentleman. However, they did not want to be hypocritical. Thus, they created the saber. The saber was different from the sword. The saber was a true lethal weapon. It was a lethal weapon that existed to kill. It was not restricted by any rules and regulations. It was for the sake of being able to express one's true self. After Shao Chen heard Yun Kursen's introduction, he entered deep thought. He felt that he had found some answers to some of the questions that had troubled him for a long time. He could not help but become more interested in this topic. He asked, since that is the case, if the saber is a lethal weapon, then the 5,000-odd Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples should all be bladesmen, right? Yun Kursen shook her head. Wrong. Lethal weapon is just the surface meaning of the saber. It does not mean that you are a bladesman just because you use the saber to kill people. Instead, you have to have a boldness in your heart, not fearing power, not bowing and scraping. This is a sharpness that can be withdrawn. However, this boldness cannot disappear. Otherwise, you will not be able to express your true self. You will just be a murderous demon, even more abominable than those hypocrites. Yun Kursen paused for a while and poured herself a cup of wine. She looked at Shao Chen and smiled faintly. Actually, I envy you. When I first saw you, I noticed that you were different from the other Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples. In the end, I was right. Even until now, the boldness in your heart has not weakened at all. Instead, it has become sharper and more stable. One day, this boldness will turn into a treasured saber and become your saber soul. At that time, you will be a true bladesman. Shao Chen's expression turned serious. He felt like he had met someone who understood him. This was the first time he met someone who could understand him so well. He placed the wine cup on the stone table and smiled gently. In your opinion, how many people in the history of the great Qin nation can be considered a true bladesman? Yun Kursen muttered to herself for a while before smiling. You speak too highly of me. What I said is only my understanding. As for whether it is right or wrong, I do not know. However, the ones that I truly admire are the first pavilion master of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the Thunder King from 1,000 years ago, and the current commander of the Imperial Dragon Legion, Nangong Yen. The two of them chatted as they drank. In the end, the more they chatted, the more interested they became. They actually drank for the entire afternoon. The two of them were slightly tipsy.